Welcome back, Commander. I'm your host for the evening, Coreack, joined today by Xads. Say hi, Xads!
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
This, of course, is our continued coverage of the Chrono Clash II. We have moved into the semifinals. Welcome, everyone! We are finally winding down on the map Toxicity. Starting us off over in the top left-hand corner of the map, his left glove is purple and his right one says Traveler 59. This is Rex!
And in top right, playing as the red nod, we of course have the one and only undefeated player in Kane draft history, BikeRushOwnz.
Bike Rush into Rex. Definitely excited to see this one. That is for sure. This is going to be a best of 9 series, and we are all hoping for the incoming slug out. We have made our predictions over on Cybert's channel. Please feel free to check him out and to check out our predictions over there as well, both on Twitch and on YouTube. Quick item of note, the semifinals is of course sponsored by Chronosphere, the only app and site platform that allows devs real-time tools to tackle problems before they happen. Please check out chronosphere.io if you want more information. Looks like so far we've got basic openers from both players. A little surprising from all of the chaoticness that we have seen so far, but nothing real crazy just quite yet from these two players. They're happy to play it out normal. They're happy to play it out regular. First single Raider buggy is out over here for Bike. Seeker Tank over there. No, Harvester. Wow. Units are hard.
Yeah, currently it's just eco from both. We do see a bit of a scout buggy from Bike, so he's staying pretty vigilant for now, not taking his opponent too lightly, despite the fact that he is clearly the favorite in this matchup.
Scouts have made it from Bike Rush's base all the way over into Rex, getting some healthy scouting out. Hopefully we're going to see a little bit of early aggression here from Bike Rush. Despite his name being Bike Rush, we haven't seen him rush too much in this series, or at least overall. He's been happy to play sort of these normal back and forward fights. Really traditional so far, not really sticking to his namesake, but it doesn't matter because it's working out for him. And of course, as Xad said before, Bike Rush is pretty undefeated, so he knows what is up. There it is, first Seeker Tank, and not a Harvester, is finally out, making its way across the map, trying to see what sneakiness, of course, that Bike Rush may or may not be up to. Looks like 2 Seeker Tanks there in the south.
Rex is notably ahead on the eco department as well. The second field is prospering for the scrim player, and that is in fact reflected in the eco statistics in the bottom as well. But Bike choosing to go for a second war factory here as well, so he is staying on the offensive.
Descents here for the defense, maybe preparing for some of the shenanigans that Bike Rush might decide to push his way. First couple of Scorpion tanks over into the center of the map, taking over for that blue Tiberium control.
Well, I surely hope that my mic isn't scuffed. I mean, nothing really changed in that department.
Bike Rush moving his way over into the center of the map. Seeker Tank's out here in full effect. Bike Rush might actually be a little bit on his back foot if he doesn't play his cards right. However, the skirmish is light. The skirmish is nowhere near where it needs to be. Give me 1 second as I'm fixing my mic over here in the background like Xads was speaking. Just trying to avoid it, but I was not able to catch it just in time. Camera should pick up here in a second. There we go, back into the fray. Sorry about that, folks. Plenty of Raider buggies over here in the north looking for something to snack on that will be great into those disintegrators, so hopefully we're going to see some action from that here soon. A couple of Scorpion tanks as well.
In the meantime, we are seeing a bit more of passive gameplay. We do see Rex finally trying to go in with these Seeker tanks. They're going to be saying hello to these corps of BikeRushOwnz. And Shadow Team's now on the map as well to counter the Shock Troopers from Rex, and Rex backs off.
Blink Black, of course, from the Shock Troopers. Shock Troopers going out in full effect. Hopefully Bike Rush is studied. He's usually a little bit more up on the patches, so I doubt he's going to be surprised by those Shock Troopers, and I doubt he's not I doubt he wasn't expecting them. That could explain all of the Raider buggies out here on the map, looking for those tasty Shock Troopers, or most importantly, just trying to head them off before anything can really start. Bike Rush finally moving his way over to the center of the map with his powerful Scorpion tanks. He's got a healthy mix of Shadow Teams in here as well. Shadow Teams once again making another appearance into these Shock Troopers. They did work out quite well for the previous player. Let's see how they fare for Bike Rush. I can imagine they've got to be pretty good in his hands because of all the micro. Scorpion team, the Shadow team's moving their way in as they tag the T3. T3 gets destroyed if it's not careful here. Only one more Shadow team. That's all it took. T3 is already down for Rex. That's going to be an expensive mistake. And of course, the damage is here. The Scorpion tanks are here inside of his base. The onslaught has definitely begun. That is for sure.
But we see moving in to the harvester line of Rex as well. They're under fire now. 2 red LGP. 1 will be going down. Shadow team is picking off all the infantry that Rex is able to produce to try and defend. In the meantime, secret tanks from Rex are trying to counterattack on the right-hand side and getting some harvesters of their own, but Bike has tanks in there, whereas Rex has almost no defenses here on his own base. Photon cannons are only there, and only one harvester survives, and not for long. It will be going down. Rex, in the meantime, is not fully able to get the harvester line of BikeRushOwnz, but the second field is mostly empty for Bike. And yet Rex is running out of steam here as his units will be dying down. Only a few secret tanks left, and there is actually a heroic military squad all in for BikeRushOwnz is on the map.
And it's going to turn into a full-on base rush. It looks like Bike Rush might be a little bit ahead. Those secret tanks are still going to deal a lot of damage. They're starting to take a good amount of damage to themselves. Bike Rush mounting a pretty good defense over here. Looks like forces over on the left-hand side have begun to dwindle down. Bike Rush might actually be in a bit of trouble here if he's not careful. Rex is up about 2k on that. That's going to be really unfortunate for him that T3 is still down. I suspect we're going to see a little bit of an FF here from one of our players, but only time will tell. We'll have to play it by ear to see how it boils down. Give us one moment and see how it goes. So
Rex
far,
no. Retaining most of his economy and is able to rebuild the harvesters, but he has the little amount of units compared to BikeRushOwnz. He's only had really a full Hand of the Sins, and that's about it. Whereas BikeRush has Shadow Teams, which will be a pretty hard counter to those Disintegrator squads, as well as a very big group of Scorpion tanks on the map. Rex really has to get something going here if he intends to stop this counterattack.
A couple of descents in the north, looking for something to snack on, maybe trying to pull the tempo back in Rex's favor, but the Shadow Teams are going to see them, and they're going to go for them really quickly, and they should be able to take them out rather quickly, and indeed, they are going down left and right. Shadow Teams are just absolutely wrecking these Disintegrators as they die left and right. That assault is all but gone, but BikeRush is not done as he moves over in the southern section of the map with the Scorpion tanks dealing more and more damage to Rex's base. Rex is in trouble. He's only got a couple of Gunwalkers here for the defense. If he doesn't tighten things up, he's going to lose his first match to BikeRush. Getting a lead on against Rex would be quite detrimental to BikeRush, or to Rex. Words are hard. There it is, folks. There is the GG. Rex throwing in the towel, not able to pull one off over the champ, but it doesn't matter. The fat lady has not sung just quite yet. There is still time for Rex to turn it around.
Rex just was able to get a lot of the harvesters from Bike, but at the same time, he was a little too late on that sell-off of the MC. Bike a little bit faster on that action, and that gave him a bit more catch, the opportunity to make more units in that game. And he has retained more Scorpion tanks than Rex did Seekers. Ultimately, Rex also going for that tier 3, and the first tier 3 was has gotten sniped by those Shadow Teams in the initial push of Bikes, but the second tier 3 as well that he queued up simply served no purpose and was just wasted money for Rex. He just misjudged the situation, thought he had a bit more time in him, whereas Bike was very decisive in his actions, and that's that decisiveness right there is what actually won him that game.
Round 1 going to BikeRush. He now has a 1-0 lead on his opponent, Rex. Rex is definitely going to tighten things up if he's going to take on the champ, because the champ is coming out swinging. Let's see how they both fare in round number 2. I'll see you there. Match 1, round 2 takes place on Tournament Highlands. Sitting over in the right, it looks like Rex is sticking with his purple and sticking with his Traveler 59.
And on left, we do have a switch up from BikeRushOwnz. He's going to be going with Zocom this time around, not opting to go with Nod.
Zocom being one of, at least if I'm listening to the players correctly, being one of the weaker factions in this. Not that they can't get something done, and especially in BikeRush's hands, quite a good amount can be done. But why is he thinking Zocom? He may predict that Rex is going to go Traveler 59. Maybe BikeRush knows more about Rex than we do. What's the thinking here?
Well, the only advantage for Zocom here is their aircraft force. Their infantry is great, but it's not that much better than GDI, and honestly, on a map like this, where the center is very contested, you really prefer Dreadnoughts and the force of GDI to, smash down on the scrim. So in this case, the only real reason you pick Zocom would be to go for the aircraft, which are the Firehawks, the Zorkas, and the Hammerheads. So you're probably going to see some of those in this game.
BikeRush being a little bit cheeky, going for the portal here for Rex. Portal is in low power mode, or at very least is powered down, which should give it, if I remember correctly, just a little bit of armor, harder to take out. Xads can correct me there on that one. 2 refineries out for both players. Should be expanding to their natural expansions, and there it is.
Low power structures do in fact not take more damage or less damage if they are low power. The only exception to that is in the case of sonic emitters when they're low power and they're dueling another sonic emitter, them being low power. It's sort of like a bug or an exploit, you could call it, but it is fully viable and you could use it. But yeah, when you power down a sonic emitter, it will take less damage from other sonic emitters.
So it does happen, but it's definitely niche. Good to know going forward, kind of like the SAM turrets when they're firing, they take a bit more damage. I've watched a good chunk of Master Leaf's video, and he goes into a lot of weird things like that. So shout out to those videos, the 10 or 15 things you may not know about Kane's Wrath.
Currently, we see APCs out of Bike, potentially APC Rocket on the way, but we will see if he's going to be opting to go for that, since if he will be going aircraft this game, he wants to be a bit more passive. Perhaps he still wants to try and take some attention out of Rex, try and do some guerrilla attacking in the top or in the south, but ultimately it's going to be the aircraft game that really matters here for BikeRushOwnz as he is playing Zocom.
Rex really trying to double down on the blue Tiberium. He's able to grab just about all of it in the south, and he's grabbing, actually no, he's forgot his Harvester in the north. May end up dying here to an APC if he doesn't play his cards right, but it will take some time for that to happen. Gunwalker going to run into more APCs and another Pitbull, which will definitely do plenty of damage to this Harvester. Harvester already lost about like 10% or so. Gunwalkers marching their way up there to try and save it, but I think it might be too little too late. No, looks like they do make it in time. Pitbull having to back its way off. Rex may have not got any of that blue Tiberium, but at least he's not down a Harvester.
And he seems to be taking up himself Crane on the map for Rex as well, so we do see that. He's going to be getting tier 3 down very shortly, while at the same time getting his eco in the bottom, which will leave him a little vulnerable here at the start of the game, but Bike isn't doing anything too aggressive, which will of course help Rex in that regard.
Crane popping its way down, giving him just a little more build order. BikeRush sending in an ox cart filled with a couple of rifleman squads trying to get that scout off. That scouting is going to be so important. He needs to see what his opponent's doing, and indeed he's going to get that with that ox cart and that rifleman squad inside of it. A couple of gunwalkers here at the door for BikeRush, but nothing really to write home about. APC and AP ammo did finish there in the background, and there should be plenty to push out the forces of Rex. Rex might lose these gunwalkers here for free, which could be costly in the long run.
And it appears that in the back we do have something brewing for our Zocom player. As the Orca Strike comes down onto the base of Rex, we do see the first Firehawk make its appearance on Torment Highlands.
Firehawk here, Orcas here, probably going to see a little bit of shenanigans. We also got a tripod out for Rex. Bike moving in the north while doing his assaults in the south. T3 taking a little bit of damage. BikeRush is also going to see the Warp Chasm. Storm Column's going to pop its way down, trying to protect that precious T3, but that is now a valuable target for BikeRush to go for. It looks like a couple of Storm Riders there for the defense as well. Rex is going full send in on the defense, at least when it comes to those to that T3. So far, not really a whole bunch to deal with the forces for BikeRush in the north. He's got those APCs rolling in, with followed by a couple of Predator tanks hitting the portal for free. Now starting to pick off a couple of the structures there of his opponent. Tripod not in a great position. He needs to move his way over there. More and more power plants going to get targeted down. Going to be pretty unfortunate there for Rex, but he can buy himself a little bit of time. There it is. There's the low power mode, but he replaces it with one just as quickly.
Nice side of the Refinery and War Factory simultaneously with only 4 Firehawks from BikeRush. If the Refinery and War Factory are too close for Rex, 4 Hawks could take both of them out simultaneously. And that's what we saw happen there in the first field of Rex.
Refinery going down just as quickly. It looks like we've got 8 Firehawks in total, 4 per each plant. Tripods chasing out this sort of small diversionary force of Bike Rush. Rex being the first to move into the center, he definitely seems to be the first to capitalize on economy, and why not? You may as well lean into the strengths of that faction. T3 going down over on the right-hand side. Bike Rush sneaking those Firehawks in, delaying the... no, actually, the Eradicator to Hexapod did go out, so maybe he was able to sell it off there in time. Hopefully Xads was able to catch it. I did not see the full engagement.
Yeah, he does get a tech center, but he does pay for it with 2 of the 4 Firehawks of his, but that is still a worthy trade for him. He doesn't cancel the Hexapod, which is a little bit sad, but he's going to be getting a nice influx of resources here in the north, grabbing all that blue tip, while also taking a tripod off of Rex with his ground army.
Gunwalker's here for the defense, going for a good chunk of these Zone Raiders. That's going to be good for them to grab. Also going to be focusing on these APCs as the Tripods rejoin the fray. This is going to be a minor skirmish, but a small win for Rex. It might be more of a win for Bike Rush because, like Xads said, he was able to get plenty of blue Tiberium, which will help offset some of those disadvantages that he's experiencing so far. Marv moving its way in. It's going to be Marv versus Eradicator Hexapod. Couple AA batteries there on the front line, taking out at least one of the Firehawks. Bike moving his MCV, trying to get that middle map control.
And more Firehawks coming in through for BikeRushOwnz. War Factory falls for Rex in the middle, and he's sort of scrambling now. The bombings continue. His tier 2 got taken out earlier. He must have rebuilt it now, but even then, it is very, very annoying for Rex. His tripod's not really being fully repaired because the war actually did go down to the Firehawks. And Bike is still mounting that assault in the left-hand side of the field.
Double barracks here for the center. It looks like it is going to be a bit of man spam here for Zocom. A couple of workers moving their way in for another little bombing run. Might actually get the tripods. No, actually, they're going to ignore them completely and go for the back base. EMP there on the Eradicator Hexapod. Eradicator Hexapod rear armor is exposed. Going to take more damage from it and going to get taken out here rather quickly. These EMP grenades are just so powerful, and Rex actually has already thrown in the towel. That gives BikeRushOwnz a 2-0 lead in this best of 9. Rex, buddy, I'm rooting for you. You got to step it up, though. Hopefully he does in round number 3. Once again, where did it go wrong, Xads? What could have he done there?
Simply with Rex, he wasn't really seeing the Firehawks come in. He did make Storm Riders, which is a little bit puzzling. It seems like he might have had a general idea of what Bike might have been up to in that game, but he didn't seem to get a full-on scout as to what Bike was doing. The Firehawks came as a bit of a surprise, especially double airfield Firehawks. Not a very common thing to do. It is a big investment after all, but in the end, it does end up paying off, and a small few mistakes here and there for Rex, losing the Hexapod, for example, as you said before during the game, its rear armor being hit when it was EMP'd in the middle, and the tech was not there for the phase to come through. The tripods didn't really get the repairs. He didn't use repair drones because he didn't even really have a war factory that was operational because he was just building refineries due to Firehawk bombings. And yeah, Rex just, I mean, he should have been able to get a bit more done here. Probably having an engineer next to the tech would have helped a lot in his situation, as he could have potentially repaired the tech center as it was getting bombed to not allow Bike Rush to take it with only a single bombing run. But even then, he kind of had to have a good eye and a good idea on what Bike was doing, and he just simply didn't, by the looks of it.
On Old Faithful, Tournament Odyssey. Bike Rush switching back to Nod, sticking with his red, and it looks like Rex is sticking with both his color and his faction. What is Rex thinking? Does he have a strategy in the Bike, you think? You know these players a bit better than I do, so what's your stance?
So far from basically what we have seen recently, and these players haven't played in a while, they've really just came back mainly for this event specifically. I could only say that Rex will likely try a very similar strategy that he did on Toxicity, where he went for Shock Troopers and Secret Tanks and tried to make something happen with that, but perhaps he's going to focus more on defense a little bit this time, seeing as he got overwhelmed in that initial game and just simply lost too many units. So perhaps he's going to be a bit more conservative. He's going to note down the mistakes made and try and come out on top this time around.
Very much so, still in the early stages of the game. Second refineries are not even out just quite yet. Looks like it's just going to be the war factories. Nothing sneaky yet from BikeRush. Looks like he is opting for more traditional strategies, more maybe macro-oriented strategies, and is just happy to sort of sit there and deal with the long game, which I feel like is a little bit counterintuitive, but maybe he knows Rex pretty well. Going into the Scrin factions with how powerful their harvesters are, and it's very clear that Rex has been trying to capitalize on that strength, but I think Bike has been beating him in production and precision strikes so far.
Surprisingly enough, in the case of BikeRushOwnz, he doesn't need to be really even anti-scouting a Rex. I mean, he definitely could have as not. You can make a lot of no-moves and deal with those buzzers fairly easily, or even just go for a buggy. Which he did do, but quite late, and he didn't manage to anti-scout Rex. So it seems like he is definitely going to go in for the longer run, not opting for any sort of cheesy strategies early in the game, like Flames or Bike Rush for that matter, which is a little bit ironic considering his name is literally Bike Rush. But yeah, we'll see what he has to cook up later in the game.
Buzzer squads finally mopping up the poultry scouts of BikeRush, but as soon as they go down, a Raider buggy moves its way back in, knowing that they're going to get taken down. There's the Seeker tank. It is going to get scouted, but that's not really too surprising. You know, Scrin builds Seeker tanks. Shocker, right? It looks like it's going to be 3 so far, and probably more on the way, and maybe even a couple of descents here from the portal. Yep, there it is. There's the descents out and ready to go.
We have seen about the same build from Rex the other game as well, and yeah, we'll see if he's able to push through with it. Since early game can be a good unit to use to push, they're really cost effective, do a lot of damage. They don't have a lot of range, so in big numbers they do tend to fall short, but if you can overwhelm your opponent, it can certainly be a menace to deal with.
Raider buggies moving into the center of the map to absorb some of these shots for the Scorpion tank. So far, BikeRush has been consistent in his build, producing a healthy number of Raider buggies and then immediately going into Scorpion tanks, at least for his Nod build. So that's definitely going to be practice for him, anticipating not only descents, but also these shock troopers, which have made quite a good showing for themselves in this tournament overall. Seeker tanks moving their way in, going to mop up at least some of the forces of the Raider buggies. Those are going to be actually good finds to grab if they can manage to finish them off, but that looks like that's not going to be the case. Those Raider buggies are going to be useful later on in the fight, especially if his opponent decides to go. And indeed, there they are, shock troopers with double upgrades, it looks like.
Rex leading a bit more on the tech of in this game. He's going to go for the tier 2 for those shocks, whereas Bike actually opting to go for the tier 1.5, quote-unquote. The secret shrine coming out for the Nod player. The shadow teams are out as well, so quite the repeat of the first game.
Shadow teams, Raider buggies, Scorpions. Looks like he's happy producing a healthy number of these. So far, nothing really different yet on this build. Hopefully, Rex has spent some time adapting to this strategy, because if we're picking it up, hopefully that means Rex has picked up this almost consistent strategy so far on Nod. Looks like nobody's decided to mess with any of the Tiberium spikes on either side, just happy to let them go. Scorpion tanks pushing out the Seeker tanks for Rex. Rex just sort of testing Bike to try to see what he can find. Couple of descents going to move their way in on the Tiberium spike, but it shouldn't be enough to take it out with those Raider buggies sitting there.
Bike holding strong so far, but he's not really even going to aggress at all. He's just kind of sitting in his base, building up his force, and letting Rex do his thing. And Rex so far is taking a bit more of the map control, which on this map now blue tip isn't a big advantage, but it is certainly something, and Rex really should take all he can get.
Bike just happy to sit pretty and build up a healthy amount of his forces and just continue to mirror the Scrin forces. His prediction was right on cue. There are the shock troopers, which he's definitely ready for. One Raider buggy going to move its way in and see the full scope of the forces, but the jig is up Hopefully Bike Rush responds in time, but actually hasn't moved over to his third expansion just quite yet. Just happy to sit in here and is priming for this assault. Rex still not able to find the hole that he needs to, but maybe this is going to buy him some time to cook up another build there in the background. T3 is down. It looks like it is cooking something up. No warp chasm or anything like that. And he is capitalizing on his economy so far. It looks like it's going to be... No, actually, Bike Rush is ahead. 16K per minute to 15K. So despite those stronger harvesters, despite the expansion in the south over here, it looks like Bike Rush is up on economy.
I mean, Rex will overtake it with that expansion eventually, but here we do see an engagement. Finally, Shopkeeper's moving in to try and pick up some units. Lightning Spike coming down as well. Nice TP in, and so far a pretty good engagement for Rex.
Shock Troopers trying to thin out the numbers of those pesky Raider buggies, but that's not the only thing to deal with. Rex actually having a good combination to deal with all of his, if he plays his cards right. He can't afford to lose these Gunwalkers right here, because those Gunwalkers are going to be really good into the Shadow teams as soon as the Shadow teams reveal each other. It's going to boil down to pure control and pure micro of this and how it boils down to. Storm Column taking a little bit of damage. Bike Rush priming his assault, going for it. Shock Troopers going to make their way in. There are the Raider buggies going for them immediately, doing exactly what they should, probably followed by the Shadow team. Shadow team's moving in as well. Going to go for those Shock Troopers. Storm Column going down. Attacked and tanks moving their way in. Dozer upgrade for finishing itself there on the background. Laser upgrade as well. We've seen this work in the past, and it looks like the majority of those Shock Troopers are going to go down left and right. So many health bars going down. Tripod going down, and pretty soon, if Rex is not careful, he may go down as well, as that's the majority of his forces already gone. There's a Tripod, there's a Prodigy, but I think it's too little, too late, as even those start to go down.
Phase failing for Rex here, and his Hexapod is barely out, but it doesn't matter. It's simply too many units out for Bike, and Rex will throw in the... I believe it is 3-0 now in favor of Bike.
Bike Rush not taking any chances into a player like Rex, because he knows that if he makes any major mistakes, Rex will capitalize on it, and he's not going to allow that happen so far. Are we going to get to witness a reverse sweep? Will Bike Rush allow that reverse sweep, or will it just continue in Bike Rush's favor? Let's find out in round number 4. Thank you for joining us on Mountain Pass. It looks like both players are going to stick with their colors, stick with their strategies, and stick with their faction. Rex has had pretty good luck here on this map in the past against Black Hand when he did play it. Is his strategy going to be the same to move into the second natural expansion for Bike? It did work out quite well for him, but Bike's probably seen a couple of those games and is probably ready for it. He's seen a lot of the strategies, and I don't think that's a new one whatsoever.
I mean, Bike is certainly a formidable foe, and it is a 3-0 scoreline currently in his favor. It's not something you want to see if you're Rex, but at the same time, it isn't yet match point, thankfully, for Rex, as we are, in fact, in a best-of-9 in this case scenario, since this is the quarterfinals. Rex has a little bit more opportunities up his sleeve, still remaining to make something happen in this series.
First refineries cooking up in the oven. Looks like they're about halfway. So build order-wise, both players are in lockstep with each other. Economy is tied up. A little bit of loot Tiberium in the bottom right-hand side for those who are not familiar with Mountain Pass as well in the top left. There's only a single Tiberium spike per player, one in the south and one in the north for each perspective player. The normal path's going to be going over from the left to the top right for Rex, and it's going to be reversed for Rex, obviously. First Secret Tank moving its way in. Going to see what Bike Rush is up to, but so far, Bike Rush has been consistent, and I think we can probably predict the similar strategy. A couple of Raider buggies out, a couple of units here and there, but no, actually, I take it back. He went Black Hand. I thought he went Nod this whole time. I was not looking at my UI. So maybe Bike Rush cooking something up. Maybe Bike Rush actually might get a rush out with maybe a Flame Take or something. And he has indeed changed his strategy a little bit, because he hasn't produced too many attack bikes so far, and this is his first attack bike here, going for that Secret Tank, taking it out rather quickly.
Rex definitely respecting the Black Hand here from BikeRushOwnz, as we do see that early Seeker. Haven't seen that before from Rex, so he's a little more worried about Black Hand rushes, and he is Nod rushes in this case scenario, which makes a lot of sense. It looks like BikeRush might be going for a second War Factory here, however. Taking a page out of the book of HoxaeB, another player we've seen that was very proficient in this event. No! It's going to be an Operations Center instead. Tier 2 coming down for Black Hand.
And BikeRush setting up plenty of scouts here to deny the scouts, a couple of Raider buggies to deny the scouts of potentially those weather squads making their way in. So far, Rex is completely unaware of what's cooking in the oven for BikeRush. First Flame Tank out, double War Factory out. Probably going to see a couple more here and there. Rex is not really prepared for it. He's sending a couple of Secret Tanks out, but he needs to send more forces outside of his base to see what's going. Another Raider buggy moving its way in, doing that pre-scouting for the 2 Flame Tanks, and it looks like 1 Reckoner with, I'm guessing, 2 Black Hands in them rather quickly. Might just be going down Main Street because Rex hasn't moved in at all.
All-in for BikeRushOwnz. He's really committing to the strategy. Flame all-in coming out from the Black Hand player. Fanatics on the way from the barracks. And the Reckoner and Flame Tanks are making their way over the map, completely unscouted by Rex.
Rex denying the center of the map, and it might cost him the game if he's not careful. Reckoner moving its way in, gonna set up in a pretty good spot there. It's gonna reach a whole bunch. Flame Tanks over on the right-hand side, going for the War Sphere, going for the Extractor. Portal going down. Photon Cannon getting targeted. Bike already finding some really great gains in this as both structures go down over in the right. Flame Tanks moving in as well. Looks like fire sale there for Rex. Rex was not prepared for this, and he's knocked out once again. BikeRush having a 4-0 lead in the semifinals, even into a player like Rex. I was not expecting this whatsoever. Hopefully, Rex can turn things around, and maybe the underdog will come out on top.
Oh boy, right as I mentioned the match point, here we are at it. Well, not much else to say there. Rex just going in for the initial scout, letting his guard down, seeing that there's not going to be an initial rush, right? There was no 1 refinery flame, there was no double War Factory all-in from BikeRushOwnz, but he did opt to go for that 1 field, so 2 refinery all-in with 2 War Factory flame, and that is devastating for Rex. He just let his guard down, wasn't able to really do much else, went into eco, went into tech, and missed the absolute wave of flame that was approaching. And yeah, that cost him dearly.
We have moved on to Atacama Road. Hopefully I said it right. Looking at the map, looking at the UI, looks like BikeRush sticking with his Black Hand. Is he going to do a bit more rushing? Are we going to see more Flame Tanks? Is BikeRush going to go for rock in rock, paper, scissors for a second time? Hopefully Rex is a little more prepared for it. There's less angles here that he has to defend, but some of the angles are pretty wide that he has to defend. Atacama is actually a map I haven't played, I don't think really at all on my side. So I don't know what the feel like is from the player's perspective.
Atacama is a bit of a mixed bag, to be fair, in 1v1 games, especially if you're playing against a faction such as Black Hand, because Black Hand have very good rushing potential, and you'd think with only really 2 ways to your base, it would be very easy to scout what is happening in the game, but at the same time, Black Hand have very strong early game infantry, those being the Confessor Cabals, and that makes it pretty difficult to get past them. The anti-scout is super strong for Black Hand, hence why we are seeing this Seeker coming out of Rex once more for the second time in a row. He doesn't want to lose eyes on his opponent.
It did cost him a game. He did have a couple of Seeker Tanks out and ready to go, and they could have done quite a good amount of damage to those incoming Reckoners. And if I remember correctly, too, he also had 3 to 4 descents. Even just having those up on the defense to have the Reckoner run into, we're going to do quite a significant amount of damage, but of course they were not in the right place at the right time. He may have had the right build, but it doesn't matter if it's somewhere where it doesn't need to be. Rex getting a little bit of harassment off on the MCV. Not really anything to write home about just quite yet, but at least he's getting something so far in the game. First Raider buggy is out. Maybe going back to that old build, but BikeRush fooled me and Rex in the last game. So hopefully we'll see something different this time.
Seems like Rex will be putting blue tip on the table. as his Harvester will make its way across to the middle of the map. There's actually 2 blue fields here. It's a bit difficult to see, but there are in fact 2 here, so there is a lot of early game blue tip to be taken.
It's definitely one of the things that Rex is very consistent on almost every map where he finds blue Tiberium is, and he's tested it, he's timed it on when he needs to send his Harvester out to grab it in order to get a full load, and he's been very, very consistent on that in not even on just the Chrono Strike, but just as a player in general. So that's one of the things he does really, really well, but you need to do almost everything well to pull a game from Bike Rush.
And currently, BikeRush is opting for a more conservative playstyle, as we do not see him go for any all-ins just yet. And he's just going to go for eco, not even really contesting blue Tiberium, surprisingly, but letting Rex just take it and do whatever he wants. And yeah, Rex is capitalizing, but seemingly going for about the same build he did before. We'll see if something is different here, or if he's able to make it work a bit better than the previous games.
Fast Legs probably cooking up there in the background. Bike Rush making his first, making another foray into, yeah, it looks like he is going to do a little bit of scouting, at least a little bit of reverse scouting here with these Raider Buggies. He's got 4 out and ready to go, so far that build's consistent. And I'm guessing with the Descents and the Fast Legs cooking up, we're probably going to see a couple of Shock Troopers again. So Rex maybe going into that consistency. Seeker Tanks looking for something to snack on, but Bike Rush having the appropriate amount of defense. 3 Scorpion Tanks versus 3 Seeker Tanks should go Bike Rush's way.
In the meantime, speaking of all-ins, we're just seeing one here from BikeRushOwnz. He's going to be going for a triple War Factory, double Barracks Fanatic spam with flame-powered units here as an all-in strategy, and Rex does not have a scout on this. He is fully in not the know of what is about to, come upon him from BikeRushOwnz.
Bike Rush doing a good job of using those Raider Buggies as forward scouts, trying to push everything out to give him more and more time to prepare for this. A couple of Descents going to make their way in. Flame Tank's going to run into at least a couple of them. Is going to take out a few here and there, but Bike Rush beginning his assault over on the right-hand side. Those Flame Tanks need to sneak their way in. Scorpion Tanks trying to absorb some of the damage, as well as the Fanatics trying to get their shots off. Minor damage being dealt over here. Lightning Spike down in the field. 2 Flame Tanks there for the defense. Bike Rush moving 4 of his Flame Tanks across the map over here. Going for that portal would be pretty good. There's the 1-click in a really good spot there, slowing down Bike Rush. Is Rex going to be able to pull one off over on Bike Rush? This would be his best opportunity for it, but I don't think he has the forces just quite yet, as these Flame Tanks are not going down. Selling off of the portal there on the front line. Assault still going over here on the left, or bottom left-hand side. Bike Rush not giving up, having it looks like 2 Flame Tanks. There's the Cultist to grab at least one of them to help delay this, but still no real focus on any of the damaged Flame Tanks. There's plenty here for them to take out. Rex maybe panicking here. Rex not holding on to his micro like he should. He was able to get 1 Flame Tank, but that's really about it. I think this might spell his doom already. I don't see anything he can do, because more and more Flame Tanks join the fray, and there's not enough Cultists to grab them all.
Tripod going veteran now from all the Flame Tanks that he's killed so far, but there's yet more on the way. MCV under fire, Refinery under fire, Tier 3 is gonna be going down as even more Flame Tanks are here. The Tripod is holding out so far. 1 Flame Tank going to lead right in the midst of Rex's base, though. It will finally go down, and Rex is somehow survived this onslaught, but with little to no units left.
At the very least, he was able to hang on to his drone ship, but Bike Rush having those 3 War Factories. Looks like he did sell off one there in the background. Handed still out and ready to go, and it looks like he's going to be rebuilding his forces. And honestly, at this point, if he just sends these in, he's going to be able to do a good amount of damage. Cultist Flame Tank looking for something to snack on. Looks like that is the one with a bit of upgrades, so at least Rex was able to grab something decent with those Cultists. Flame Tank maybe trying to bait in a couple of these Scorpion Tanks. Tripods would snack on them quite quickly if they play their cards right. Rex doing a little bit better scouting. Going to see the Flame Tanks over on the left-hand side, but most importantly, is he going to have the forces to stop it? Tripod's actually going for Predator Prey. Going to get targeted over here. Bike Rush going to be able to take it down, at least one of them so far. That's exactly what it needs. There's the Buzzer Squads there in the background, but it looks like Bike Rush has paid attention to it with his Confessor Cabal Squads. Flame Tanks uncontested over on the left-hand side. Only 1 Tripod left over on the right. half HP. All he's got is a dream and a prayer, and I think he's going to lose both of those here in a moment.
BikeRushOwnz advancing forward with his infantry tripod under fire, quite literally under fire by this elite Black Hand squad, as it is trying to desperately get away. Rex will be losing that tripod Black Hand squad, granted the heroic rank. Gunwalkers are here, cultists are here for Rex, but so are the flame tanks for BikeRushOwnz in the base of Rex, and he simply doesn't have enough here to stop all of them. There is the sell-off, and that will mark the end of Rex, quite literally drowning in a sea of flames. BikeRushOwnz yet to be defeated.
BikeRush will progress into the finals. That means the first part of the bracket has been filled out for BikeRush. We have one more game on the way. Please stay tuned. It's going to be another best of 9, and of course the finals are going to be a best of 11. Better luck next time, Rex, and congratulations, BikeRush. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Commanders one and all, to Match 2, Round 1 of the semifinals for the Chrono Clash 2, of course, on everyone's favorite map, Tournament Odyssey. Starts off, we're in the top right-hand corner of the map. Rocky the Cyan playing the Zocom. This is Futurama.
And in my left-hand corner, playing as the purple Nod faction, we of course have the one and only player nobody expected to reach this far in the event. Please welcome Noev.
Noev into Futurama. Very excited to see this one coming. Noev has been very consistent overall in the tournament, but so has Futurama. Futurama has been this long-standing pillar in the community of consistency. Will Noev be able to knock him off his pedestal and take on the champ, take on BikeRush? Let's find out together.
We do see a buggy early out from the Hive. He's definitely staying on his toes, playing against such a formidable opponent as is Futurama. But so far, the scouting has been better at Futurama. He was able to kill all the Miltons from the Hive. He was able to get some of the Foxholes into the base of the Nod player as well. So that's something that Futurama will be very, very happy about.
2 refineries and 4 harvesters for each player, it looks like. Yeah, indeed, right on cue. So both players are pretty in sync when it comes to their builds, when it comes to popping out their harvesters. Of course, Futurama will have a little bit of advantage on his economy because of those pesky harvesters there. No, actually, he's GDI, so I had that wrong. I just thought Cyan and immediately thought Scrin, but that is not the case. He's playing Zocom, and actually thinking about...
You are right with what you're saying, though, however, because GI harves are still better than Nod harves. GI and Screen harves kind of go to blow for blow. The Screen harves are a little better still, but Nod harves are just the clear worse out of them all. So GI harves still definitely the better pick out of the two.
Noev is going to move his way in and see that his opponent has those rocket harvesters, which is a dead giveaway that he has gone Zocom. So hopefully he's got maybe an AA battery out and ready to go, because it would not be uncommon at some point to see a bit of an airfield natural expansion being developed quite nicely. Looks like Futurama is just a bit ahead. He's got plenty of infrastructure. He's got a lot more infrastructure here than his opponent, but at least the refineries are right behind one another. Scorpion tanks popping their way out already. Maybe anticipating some early pitbull harassment, and it looks like at least there's one pitbull, but no, it's going to be predator tanks for Futurama.
The Hive also opted to go for refinery here instead of a second war faction. We have seen them pull off the second war faction strategy pretty well so far throughout this event. He has won some very good players with it. However, here he's playing a little more timid, I would say. He's a little more aware of Futurama being the better player, it seems like, and hopefully he's not going to let it really get too much to him, to his head, but only time will tell.
Futurama still doing a fantastic job setting up scouts in multiple locations, moving into the center of the map, just having good amounts of vision. Give me 1 second in the background. It sounds like everything wants to mess up today because now my music is crapping the bed. Give me 1 second. Let's try this one more time. Enjoy this still camera. There we go. Music back to normal, lossless, booting back up. Futurama making his way over in the center of the map and over on the bottom right as well with a little bit of reinforcements, maybe a couple of snipers. No, actually, it's just going to be pure rocket squads and rifleman squads with their upgrades. And we also got an upgrade there for the background. It looks like they got their TIB field suits out and ready to go. Shredder turret there on the front line. Scorpion takes moving their way in. The concave's a little bit better here for Noev. And so far, it looks like he is prepared for this assault. No dozer upgrade just quite yet. Those rocket squads are going to be hard to deal with, but at the very least, like, it should be able to take those units down, and they can go for the crush if they play their cards right. A couple of rifleman squads getting the crush. Noev doing a good job, having great control. Rocket squad after rocket squad getting crushed. Predator tank going down. Noev looking in top form. Is this an indicator of how the match is going to go? Futurama is still not giving up as he maintains the pressure, pushing into Noev. Noev finally taking some losses. Orcas moving their way in, dealing a bit of damage here and there. There's the magnetic mine drop, getting at least one of the Predator tanks so far. The wolf at the gates, Futurama, has been pushed back.
And at the moment, HoxaeB seemingly without a good idea of what to do next. His Warpack is both AFK. He does have a good amount of units on the map. His eco fairly intact as well, and he does have Venoms coming out. But not much more than that. Expansion is live for Futurama in the top left.
Futurama moving back in for another assault. Got a healthy number of these rocket squads. He's invested quite nicely into them. Venoms moving their way in, trying to pick them off. They should help. Venoms do back off right there at the end, maybe trying to avoid some of those shots, and indeed they do, going back in quite quickly. Does look like we got something there to knock down a good chunk of those units there. I missed what it was. Either way, losing those units, and we do have an obelisk of light there in the front line because the T3 is real for his opponent. This should help delay the assault at the very least. Futurama is not letting up his pressure. He's going to maintain control of the center of the map. Scorpion takes moving in for the crush to get a couple of these rifleman squads and to thin out those meat shields, those literal meat shields. Scorpion tank going down there on the retreat. Shredder turret on the front line.
HoxaeB, guarded by the light, will push the onslaught of Futurama back into his base. However, Futurama has already well established on the third field, whereas the HoxaeB is still mostly base locked. He hasn't really moved his MCV, not really building much out of his production structures, and just focused on trying to keep the beast that is Futurama at a distance.
Obelisk alike here going down just as quickly as it spawned. Those Orcas being so powerful. Sam turret's not quite able to take them down. It does look like Noah was able to get 2 upgrades here for his Scorpion tanks. He got his Dozer upgrade and he got his laser capacitor. One thing he does not have, he does not have his own expansion. He has not moved into it, and his economy is definitely hurting for it. Futurama having a 4K per minute lead, almost a 15K lead on resources gathered. And Futurama is one of those players that every little bitty advantage he gets his hand on, especially if it's economy, he's going to capitalize on it, and he's going to make you hurt for it.
The sheer volume of units coming out of Futurama's war factories right now are staggering. We have seen something similar with BikeRush going in for the all-ins, but this is no all-in. Do not mistake it for one. It is merely pure macro and economy coming out of GGI players. So much infantry and prayer tanks along with a second MCV. Actually, no, the first MC by the looks of it coming out to play, and HoxaeB's expansion will be met with a fearsome force.
Futurama saying, if you're not going to expand into your natural expansion, don't worry, I will. A little bit of bombing over here, over in the top left, going for that expansion. A couple of stealth bombers are going to get at least 1 harvester and take the refinery down to half HP. Futurama, for some reason, backing off. This is Noev's chance to move his way in, unless Futurama's going for an attack. Either way, he's got to establish a foothold before the noose goes around his neck, because Futurama is looking to lasso it around.
Redeemer Facility is on the map for HoxaeB. We'll see if the Marv is on the way. No, it looks like Futurama not opting to go for an epic unit whatsoever. We'll see that Redeemer could help HoxaeB turn the tables in this scenario.
Futurama beginning his push. Redeemer not ready for it. Futurama might be going for it here rather quickly. MCV gonna get targeted. MCV getting so close to going down. It's only got a couple of shots left on it, and it's already destroyed. The expansion is all but done. Redeemer Engineering Facility going down just as quickly. Only an obelisk light here from the front line. A couple of avatars, but it doesn't matter because the damage is done. Harvester's going in for the crush mixed into this, but it doesn't matter. I think this is Futurama's game to lose. He's able to get so much on Noab. You can't count him out just quite yet. He is indeed pushing him back, but there's plenty here on the field for him to deal with, and there's plenty in the bank for Futurama, still having a 4K lead, and that's only going to increase as time goes on.
Redeemer City going down, but the Mar is now on its way for Futurama, and HoxaeB is trying to desperately push forward now, trying to contest these navigation predator tanks. Sonic Ritter going down for Futurama. 2 avatars in red health. One of them going to be going down. Ozorka's over here, however, and now almost all avatars will be going down. Redemption. It's a panic redemption being used. Venom's trying to fly in to kill Ozorka's, but it's too little too late as this attack is thwarted, and it appears like HoxaeB will be throwing in a towel here in game number 1.
Futurama showing what Zocom can do, showing what GDI and the GDI sub-factions can do. He locked down his economy, he controlled the majority of the map, and he cut off the resources for Noab. I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million times again. It doesn't matter how good of a player you are. If you don't have an economy, you're going to lose, and that indeed did happen for him.
Great showing from Futurama, though. I mean, we have seen him falter in the past against BikeRush, and HoxaeB, of course, not the same scale of opponent, but it is good to see that Futurama is still very vigilant and still able to pump out so many forces in this game. I mean, HoxaeB has shown himself to be a very decent player in his own right, so having both of these players be on a decent footing to each other does mean they're both fairly in shape. That is very good to see.
Futurama also not allowing that assault, not allowing those units lost to turn into a victory for Noab. We've seen Noab hold off his opponents and take them off, but we haven't seen Noab on his back foot too often. We haven't seen him be aggressed upon, at least in the manner that Futurama did. He did maintain that defense, like I was saying, but he began to crumble over time, and just not moving to that natural expansion, I think, is really what knocked him out sooner rather than later. But once again, that's easy to say from the casting chair, harder to do in game. Round number 2 moves on. Futurama taking the first point, having a 1-0 lead. Is Noab gonna let that stand? Let's find out on Tournament Highlands. Over in the bottom left in the cyan, sticking with Zocom, surprisingly, we still have Futurama.
And the top right playing is the purple nod. We, of course, have HoxaeB.
Both players sticking with their respective colors once again, thankfully to me, and sticking with their respective factions. I did not really expect Zocom from Futurama. It worked out really well for him. Those infantry ended up doing a lot for it, despite Noab's best efforts to mow them down, to take them out. Maybe a healthy splattering of Raider buggies would have helped him there. He was Nod, so the militant squads wouldn't have done a whole bunch of work there, but I feel like those Raider buggies may have made a bit of a difference there.
We are seeing HoxaeB make a third engineer, which is definitely not really seen on this map. Shredder goes down for the anti-scout of Futurama's units, but there's another rifle squad that's here, and tier 2 placement will get scouted by Futurama by the looks of it. Another Shredder goes down. Futurama should know there's something amiss here in this game. Tier 2 goes down. Is it seen by Futurama? No, it is not. Barely outside of the vision, but what will be in his vision is whatever comes out of his remote actually next. Another rifle will be going down here. Or will it? Never mind, the Rifle Supremacy still is in effect. Another Shredder is forced out. That Reckoner will be seen by Futurama as it comes out of the War Factory. And we will see a Reckoner with a Flame Squad and an Engineer inside of it.
Noab doing one of his first rushes so far I think I've seen in general. He typically goes for a more standard build, but he's thinking maybe he cannot take on Futurama. Futurama has a great macro game and is very, very solid in that place, so maybe he's trying to get a couple of little advantages here and there. Not a bad strategy considering he's playing Nod, but I expected more bikes to move their way in, but maybe that's what Futurama's expecting, so he's trying to subvert those expectations. Reckoner making its way over into the southern section. It does have an engineer out and ready to go. It looks like that's what the third engineer was for, was to grab one of these Tiberium spikes. Not a bad strategy. Reckoner going to roll right into a Predator tank, take a couple of free damage, and maybe go and deploy and destroy that Tiberium spike. No, it's actually not going to matter. Reckoner's going to go down just as quickly. Well, there it is. He does get the deployment, buying himself a little bit more time and a little more HP, but Futurama doesn't care too much. If he sends a couple of APCs down, they can take out those Black Hand squads, or maybe just go for the crush. Pitbull's making their way into the center of the map, looking for that blood in the water.
And the counterattack is on its way from Futurama. He's not going to let this one slide for free, as the Pitbulls are here at the second field of HoxaeB. He has to make units. He's on one War Factory, and here we have the Pitbulls engaging the bikes.
Focus fire maybe not quite as strong as it needs to be. War Factory there on the back line, forcing Futurama to back out with his superior numbers so far. He did not have the concave, he did not have the defender's advantage, so that was the one reason those Pitbulls didn't do quite as much. Black Hand Squad maybe getting lost over here. Maybe he's not quite sure what to do with them. It looks like the Predator tank's over there sitting in the background waiting for a crush to prevent the destruction of that Tiberium spike. GDI, very, very strong on this map. As we've said before in the past, moving their way into the center of the map with that Marv just does so much. Not that we haven't seen holds from Nod, but I think that's going to make it a little bit uphill for HoxaeB unless he moves quicker than Futurama, and so far he has not. More and more bike and buggies joining the fray. Once again, looking for something to snack on.
And finally, do see the War Factory from HoxaeB, as he's going to be going in and committing into this infantry buggies on the way to kill those missile squad, doing a very good job at them, taking a lot of fire, however. But here come the bikes from HoxaeB going for that Harvester. Nice dive. Half HP is on the Harvester, but HoxaeB has to back off.
HoxaeB racking up more and more attack bikes here on the front line, taking shots here and there, killing some of the Pitbulls and moving. Actually, his Black Hand Squad's over here in the south, going for a power plant. Maybe try to find some sort of purchase here. Predator tank going in for the crush. Will it get it in time? Maybe. No, Futurama's not paid attention just quite enough. One does escape, and the power plant does go down. Minor victory. As actually they go for another one. Looks like Futurama's forgot about it as the assault begins over in earnest in the northern section of the map as a Harvester gets targeted. One more shot left. There it goes. The full Tiberium never going to reach its destination. Futurama losing a little bit of economy, but he's got plenty to lose. He's got 12K per minute in the bank rolling and 10K total resources gathered. Armory sitting there in the background. There is the Tiberium suit. So far, Futurama sticking with a standard strategy that we've seen so far for him.
HoxaeB not too far behind, however. He does have a very good eco established on his second field, so he will be ready to go, locked and loaded to take on the middle push as he moves his MCV up to the very center of the map.
He's going to need to come up with some sort of solution to deal with the mass numbers of his opponent, and maybe his goal this time around is just to hold him off with Scorpion tanks and continue to hit him in the back line with these attack bikes that are in the north. But if they're not careful, they're going to run into a couple of rocket squads. That is a bit of a cheaper defense than his attack there for his opponent, especially because he's already going to be building missile squads, which can really do a lot of damage to those rocket squads. Garrison troop finally going to get scouted, gonna go down here rather quickly. No one really grabbing any Tiberium that I can tell for the blue one. No, actually, HoxaeB got a stealth harvester there in the south. Nothing to detect it. He may need to back it out here quick if he's not careful. The one in the north did definitely get found and is already down to half HP. HoxaeB actually moving away and going for one of the harvesters there. That was exposed. Should be able to take it out here if he's paying attention, but no, he's not. He's not watching it whatsoever. It means that Harvester's going to get away, or at the very least, he's going to suffer a lot of casualties for it. He's trying, maybe overcommitting, not paying attention. That's his first real mistake for the match. Shouldn't cost him the game, but at the very least, it did prevent him from getting some of the kills that he wanted. Dozer upgrade for getting finishing there in the background. Scorpion tanks here for the defense, but it looks like the field, looks like the Harvesters are in danger. Assault going a little bit better, skirmish going a little bit better here for Futurama as he destroys. No, actually, he ignores one of the Harvesters there in the background, going for another one instead, going for a full health one, not knocking that one there. He does get another Harvester there in the field, so it means this push is a little bit more successful, and he's building a couple of troops over here in the north, while HoxaeB doesn't have a massive response to it just quite yet.
In the meantime, we are seeing Futurama also meeting HoxaeB in the middle, both players opposing each other with the field in the center. Now HoxaeB opting to go for more of a tier 1 army. Spermidance getting their dozer upgrade with the infantry in pair.
Tib Spike on each perspective side is going to go down. Futurama getting a little bit of revenge, actually twice, but I think the damage is already done. That economy has gone to NoAv, and so far it looks like that is making a difference. He did have a 1K lead, as actually an assault begins over in earnest. NoAv has the numbers. Dozer upgrade truly helping in this engagement. Plenty of rocket squads. It looks like we're getting some man spam of his own for NoAv. This MCV might be in danger. Futurama might be in danger. Is he finally going to end up on his back foot as more reinforcements join the fray? Some from the north, some from the south, but so far the concave is a little bit stronger for NoAv. NoAv not fully committing to the assault, letting a good chunk of these militant squads absorb some of the shots, and is now finally in full retreat. Barracks there on the background, laser fence on the construction yard.
Futurama's army closing in from the north and the south. He's spacing it out a bit more, perhaps playing more of the long game than HoxaeB. HoxaeB himself on tier 3 is sort of ahead on tech, and he should really be waiting to take that advantage further, but so is Futurama. Both players now on tier 3. Futurama potentially opting to go for sonic emitters, and a Marv facility will most likely be coming down at his second now.
Man spam and tanks on both sides. A little more unusual for GDI, but not quite so much for the Zocom infantry. Marv building there in the background. This is why GDI is so hard to fight on this map. As soon as that big harvester makes its way out, it just denies so many resources for your opponent while dealing damage, while soaking up damage. Doing quite well. Hand of Nod producing a couple of things for NoAv here in the background. He's got to get, I think, a different transition here to deal with these units. No Zone Raiders yet for Futurama. He did that last time. It looks like he's not doing that so far now. I don't think we have railgun upgrades yet either.
Well, it is Zocom, so we're not really going to be seeing any railguns anytime soon in this game. But what we will be seeing is a full onslaught of Futurama. Redeemer's on the way, about halfway done. Futurama seems to be committing into this push as more of his forces spread out, and the concave here is absolutely massive. Doesn't even fit on the screen as he's preparing the assault once his Marv comes out.
Obelisk Light here for the defense. Futurama splitting up his forces in the north and in the south. Having less in the center, maybe looking for that pincer move, moving his MCV, getting ready for a little bit of a base push. Hopefully there's an Obelisk of Light here in the background. The scout did happen there from the Rifleman squad's forces from the north finally moving their way in, trying to split the attention of NoAv. NoAv's concave not as strong because of the diversion over here in the north and the south. Redeemer finally going to pop its way out. That Rage Gen will be super useful there. There it is. He's going to pop it out as soon as he's right out the gate, dealing a good chunk of damage to all of these units, and hopefully maybe able to push Futurama out. Futurama's construction yard is in danger. That was the one in the background, so far this is the one and only laser fence upgrade there is for sure. Obelisk of Light still here in the background. Redeemer here for the defense for NoAv. NoAv continuing his assault. Sonic emitter there on the front line as well. Barracks on the front line as well. Got to see a couple of rocket squads probably here soon. Couple of Venoms joining the fray, and now it looks like the forces are finally beginning to melt for Futurama. Futurama might lose the center of the map here quite quickly. Couple of stealth tanks there in the background as well. So much going on, trying to trip me up. Marv moving its way in, got fully occupied there. Got a couple of grenade squads in it as well to deal with the man spam as the assault just continues. This tug of war is never ending, never going to give up, and you can't just spam rocket squads into this Marv because he is ready for it. Redeemer marching his way in. No Obelisk Light here on the front line, but Redeemer should be a pretty good match for this assault. Couple of watchtowers there on the background. Doesn't look like we also got the defender's advantage now for the War Factory. We're popping it down, getting a bit of repairs for that. There's the one click as well. Redeemer still marching its way forward. This is anyone's game, but it looks like it's favoring Futurama. These watchtowers doing so much. There's the Rage Gen, but I'm not sure it's going to matter as the assault continues. NoAv being pushed back into his base, only having a couple of Venoms left.
Futurama staying strong in his game, pushing right into the obelisks, though, is pretty ambitious even out of him. Half HP on that Marv. He can't afford to lose this unit. Redeemer doing a lot of damage, but doesn't have any engineers inside of it to repair itself. Marv in red HP now, and it's up to Futurama to really push forward with the Sonic Emitters. Another EMP going down, locking down the Marv. It's going lower and lower on that health bar, and the Redeemer will push forward. The HoxaeB inching forward with his base with those obelisk drops. Marv taking even more damage from the Redeemer. It has to back off even further, as Futurama's entire base has been either killed or sawed off in the back. He literally has only this MCV remaining along with his War Factory and the Marv.
He doesn't need a refinery just quite yet because he has that big boy harvester. Looks like Redeemer getting down into low power mode. And actually, Futurama throws in the towel. Noab taking a point, tying up the score, holding that defense despite Futurama's best effort. Noab scored a point on one of the pros.
I believe the concave from Futurama has been a little bit too wide. He's overestimated what he was able to do and got pulled apart. Redeemer in the north, basically holding half the army of Futurama, really aided him in dealing a lot of damage to Marv initially, which eventually helped him win that game. And I assume Flame Tank's in the back that I haven't really been able to pick up, at least on my end of things. Annihilating the base of Futurama really sealed the deal there. There's no backhand, no economy coming in for the GDI player. He just wasn't able to continue the assault. And HoxaeB will actually surprisingly be coming out on top here in game number 2, evening up the score in this best of 9.
Round number 3 takes place on Badland Hills. Both players sticking with their respective colors and their respective factions. Me, Coreack, forgetting to update the score once again. Noab tying up the score in the last round, able to mount a pretty good defense. Didn't go on the aggression a crazy amount, especially for him, because Futurama didn't allow it, but he was still able to get a win nonetheless. 3 Tiberium spikes on Badland Hills, which means they're going to be harder, but not impossible, for Noab or Futurama to capture from their opponents.
We do see a little switch up here from the side of Futurama. He's no longer Zocom, opting to go for GDI now this time around. I do believe after losing that initial game as Zocom, he just lost all hope in that faction and opting to lean on the Juggernaut, the crutch that is artillery in this game, for game number 3.
Futurama sticking with the Powerhouse faction, which once again, GDI is going to do quite well in the center of the map, but it looks like Noab had the combination for him to push him out, despite Zocom having so much to deal with. I doubt we're going to see quite as much man spam. Why do you think he's going GDI this time around instead of Zocom? What might be different in his build order?
Oh, quite clearly, he doesn't see any use for Zocom on this map. Perhaps infantry just not going to be the forte, especially with all these Tiberium fields in the middle of the map that will make them very susceptible to a Tiberium vein detonation from the HoxaeB. So he's opting to potentially lean heavier on the artillery I prior mentioned. Juggernauts will likely be the main unit of choice here for Futurama on this map.
Both players moving into their natural expansion. Futurama just a little bit ahead. Refinery building there in the background that will make a minor difference, but nothing really to write home about unless Noab's able to get a good number of assaults off. So far, it doesn't look like we have a double war factor or anything crazy like that for him. Futurama doing a good job slapping a garrison troop, slapping a couple of rifleman squads in there, seeing the natural expansion and the old main base. Definitely a good idea to keep an eye on your opponent. Because he's playing Nod, there's always a chance something sneaky is going to roll its way in. So seeing those transitions, seeing those build orders are going to be really important for Futurama.
We will see Futurama go for a bit more harvesters right off the bat, and finally a battle-ready unit out of the War Factory here coming out for the GDI player. Pitbull on the map. Infantry to boot as well. The buggy will see this. HoxaeB has eyes on whatever Futurama is planning, so hopefully he will be able to prepare for whatever this attack will entail.
Looks like there's going to be 4 or 5 pit bulls ready to go. Noab having a reaction to that. Looks like he's producing Scorpion tanks. Great for the defense for sure, especially if you can get them out before anything can really make their way across the map. Secondary War Factory will definitely help push out those defenses. And maybe Futurama going for this defensive tower. It looks like he's stopping to grab it, and I don't think it's just for the defense, for the vision. Might be grabbing it as well, which wouldn't be a bad idea. It would stop Noab from going into the southern section, giving another little foothold there for Futurama. Looks like it is indeed going to be Double Engineer out, going for not only the EMP, but the defensive tower in the south.
And in the meantime, we do see HoxaeB going for more of an economic strategy here. Futurama on tier 2, potentially going to go for that tech center airfield on the map. We will probably see some hammerheads here as well for that anti-infantry, and Futurama making his way across the map to try and poke at his enemy.
Futurama finally making his first little foray into Noav's base, going for one of the Scorpion tanks, but he does not have the range to finish it off just quite yet. He does able to reverse move just in time. One in the front, though, not quite as lucky, running into those rocket squads rather quickly. It's going to be really unfortunate. Militant squad's only going to do so much damage to these rocket squads, but they should be able to take him out. It looks like Shredder Turret there on the front line. Futurama having to back up. His formation is not quite as tight as he wanted to. Maybe not wanting this assault to continue. May lose a couple of Predator tanks here in the engagement. Orcas moving their way in, looking for something to snack on, looking for a little bit of vision, and going to miss everything. Their timing just a little bit off, but if it was able to hit them, that would have hit the majority of those Scorpion tanks and definitely a lot of those Militant squads.
Tier 3 is on the board for Futurama. Looks like we might be seeing some of those jugs I prior mentioned. At the same time, the Hive himself isn't too far behind. His Tier 3 is nearly done. He does have that Secret Shrine to boot with the infantry upgrades coming online shortly.
Futurama staying on top of the base expansion, grabbing not only the Blue Tiberium, but setting down a Reclamator hub to get a Marv, forgot the name for a second. Moving his construction yard in before Noav. Noav finishing his dozer upgrade, giving his units a little more armor and a little more squishing power. But that's going to be hard to deal with these mammoths still. There's the one click for a little bit of vision as the decoy army pops its way down. Noav having a good amount of numbers, but I don't think he has too much to deal with these mammoth tanks. Juggernaut's probably soon to follow, just like Xads was saying, I suspect. Singular airfield in the background, producing out those hammerheads.
The Hive making his way over to the north of the map, but he is still a little bit more base contained, a little bit in his head, if I dare say, as he's just simply not making any moves with Futurama. Another Orca Strike going to be coming down for Futurama to get a bit of vision here into his opponent's forces. And, I mean, really with this grasp on the center, this is going to be very difficult to dislodge for the Hive. This Marv is out, the Mammoth Armored Reclamation Vehicle is on the field, actually on free fields here, as you can see, and that's going to be a massive issue for the Hive.
EMP Control Center still cooking up there in the background, getting close, if not already ready to go for this engagement, which will be quite unfortunate for those Scorpion tanks. Venom's making it way into the center of the map. Unfortunately, was not able to make it all the way across. Laser capacitors completing 4 Scorpion tanks. One cell off of the War Factory there in the background there for Noav. No more air factory, so it looks like Futurama's happy to just grab that. Redeemer has risen in the background and is preparing for the brawl.
Looks like to have finally moving out, finally with the Redeemer ready to contest the force of the GDI player. Spectres on the map as well. Very good choice against those Juggernauts, but the numbers of jugs are rising slowly but surely. And yeah, no, Hive really has to get something going here.
Every second that goes by, Futurama has more and more time to harvest up resources here, more and more time to set up infrastructure, and most importantly, more time to get more of these hammerheads and juggernauts out and ready to go. Spectres are finding a target going for the construction yard. No real response yet from Futurama as he's watching everything moving here in the south. It doesn't look the EMP is going to pop its way off and get something. Not sure where that went. It didn't look. I had actually caught the Redeemer instead. Juggernaut's going for it. Sonic Emitter's going for it. Noav can't really afford this loss, but I don't think he can do anything about it as Redeemer rolls its way forward directly into its doom. Not sure if it was able to get a rage gen off, but it doesn't matter because it gets destroyed. Redeemer does go down there in the background. Noav does have free reign here on the the soft back meat for Futurama, but I'm not sure Futurama cares because he's moved pretty heavily into the center of the map.
But the hammers are here, there's no Venoms inside. In the bottom right, the Scorpion tanks are rolling in, but under fire from those AP ammo beasts in the sky. Harvesters of Futurama taking a beating. One click comes down on the refineries, but doesn't even matter. There's simply no anti-air inside for the Hive. All of these tanks can be going down, and Futurama still has a pretty big field, pretty big harvesting operation in the center. These Scorpion tanks just being thrown out by the Hive for little to no advantage. not what you want to see if you're a fan of the Nod player.
Stealth Bomber's getting a couple of good shots off, taking at least down 2 of the Juggernaut, but when 2 go down, I'm sure plenty are going to follow. Noav completely out of Tiberium on his side of the map, producing another Redeemer. Does look like a good chunk of the man spams moving their way in, so it's going to be man spam and avatars here on the map. MCV getting targeted, MCV getting so close to going down. Juggernaut's firing away. Only looks like 4, maybe 6 of them left so far. MCV so close to going down. Harvester moving its way forward, unfortunately. Looks like Venom's looking for something to snack on. Hammerhead's moving forward as well. There's the one click, forcing Noav to back off. MCV not down just quite yet. Juggernauts continue to move their way forward. Those are the primary threat here for Noav. He has an opportunity to turn around, but he's got to kill those Juggernauts as soon as he possibly can. Scorpion tanks, and sorry, not Scorpion tanks, Spectre tanks, and Rocket Squad's moving forward, at least catching one of these. There's the Rage Gen popping off, getting a good number of these forces, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. It looks like it was not as close as it needs to be. Mammoth Tank getting sniped over here rather quickly as Noav makes his slow march.
Better coming down, taking out 2 of the Juggernauts. Hammerhead's popping in here as Futurama is going to be counterattacking, meeting Nohaev's attack with his own units. All of them should go down for Nohaev. Here come the Venoms finally. A little bit too late to the party, but they will take care of the air threat of his opponent. Shockwave coming down, locking down the Redeemer and some of the Spectre artillery. Juggernauts doing a huge job here for Futurama. They will be finishing off the Redeemer as the Marv rolls its way in and Nohaev simply left with not much to his name. 1 or 2 avatars remain. 1 Spectre artillery in the back as well. Not going to be able to do enough. Heroic Venom on the map, but it's met with 4 AA batteries from Futurama, and ultimately Nohaev cannot hold this onslaught.
A valiant assault for sure, but it looks like Futurama was happy to keep that Marv there in the background, wait for the EMP, wait for the RNG to be in his favor, and then capitalize on that on the Juggernaut, because he doesn't need the Marv to take out the Redeemer. He just needs it to stand still and the Juggernauts to open fire, and he indeed did get that to pop off. That gives Futurama another point, moving our score 2-1 in favor of Futurama. Noav's got to tighten it up. He's got to move forward and do a little bit better into a player as high caliber as Futurama. Let's see how he fares in round number 4. Here we are on 6 City. Over in our top, it looks like Noav rocking his black hand. And in our bottom right, who do we have, Xads?
We, of course, have the one and only, the third GDI faction that we're seeing here today from this man. This is the Cyan player, Futurama.
Steel Talons on this shorter map directly into Black Hand. It looks like we're already getting some shenanigans out and ready to go. We've got a secret shrine here for Noav with a Hand of Nod and a couple of rocket squads ready to go. There goes the sell-off of the Hand of Nod as the upgrade completes there in the background. The problem's going to be that there's plenty of rifleman squads here in the center of the map to see it coming, which will give Futurama plenty of time to get this rolling. So I think it's really going to boil down to how he plays this out. One refinery down there for Noav, a little bit behind the curve because of the beginning parts of the rush. Rifleman squad's going to move their way in and should see this assault coming. This should give Futurama the time to prepare, and indeed, there's the first watchtower out and waiting.
We have seen a variation of the strategy before on this very map, played by none other than Tipsy in one of his games, but he did a more all-in variation as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm a little mistaken him, Tipsy, for Numbfish, but I believe Tipsy did that strategy too on his end, and he went for a lot more infantry and it didn't work out for him. But this time around we are going for a little bit more of a safer build where there isn't such a big commitment into infantry, not a full all-in here, and it looks like Futurama's Spike will be taking the brunt of it.
It's also going to be mass, or at least 2 Wolverines here for the defense. Those Wolverines mixed in with those watchtowers should be quite well. Wolverine actually going on the assault, marching his way into Noav's space. Noav maybe being lulled into a false sense of security, starting to take damage on the watchtower. Watchtower is in trouble, going down about half HP. Wolverine going to join the fray, should help a whole bunch, but I think there's enough rocket squads to deal with this, but it doesn't matter because another watchtower going to pop its way down as the Wolverine marches its way into his opponent's base. No AP ammo just quite yet, and this assault is continuing for Noav. He's able to isolate, he's able to get the focus fire. There's a flame tanks out as well. Wolverine's going to see the flame tank, but it is going to go down down for it. Harvester's going to get targeted. Actually, this is going to be a little bit of a hybrid assault as another Harvester gets targeted and goes down. Watchtower buying Futurama some precious needed seconds, but he doesn't have an answer to the Flame Tank. Noab continuing to roll his way in. Last desperate charge there for the Harvester, trying to get plenty of crushes, and indeed it does get them, but that's right on time for the Flame Tank to roll its way in. War Factory already taking some damage. Refinery already taking some damage. Here's the Flame Tank going for the kill. Is it going to get in on Futurama? Is Futurama going to be finding wanted? Only time will tell. He's going to fire right between him, and Futurama throws in the towel. Noev getting a rush off on the macro. Keen Futurama tying up our score. Using a hybrid build there. Was not expecting that whatsoever.
That's quite the trump card that HoxaeB pulled out there for game number 4, and thankfully it has worked out for him fairly nicely. Futurama not anticipating the Flame Tank behind that infantry, mismicroed infantry defense a little bit, not using those Harvesters to kill it, instead opting to make Wolverines, slowing himself down in that game, and ultimately succumbing to the Flames. A lot of Flames happening so far today. I do like to see it.
We are tied up for the second time on Tournament Airstrip. Looks like over in the left, Noab sticking with... No, actually moving over to Nod instead of Black Hand this time around. Maybe not doing a little bit sneaky, going for more consistency. And over on the right, what's our first change?
That's a big change as well at that. HoxaeB rotating only 2 factions really, where we've seen Nod and Black Hand out of him. Futurama, on the other hand, going through all of GDI factions. Zocom, GDI, and Steel Talons were all played by this man right here. And now we're moving on to the Scrim.
If this goes into 9 games, I think it'd be quite funny if he plays each faction once. But it might cost him the game if he does that. Noab can find a good opportunity if Futurama makes enough mistakes, or if Noab pressures Futurama into a couple of mistakes. Buzzer Squad's making their way down the center, or down the southern section of the map, buying a little bit of time here for this engineer to pop its way inside of the Tiberium Spike. Should have plenty of time to go for it, and indeed it's going to grab it here right on the end, popping its way in the building, giving a little more economy already to the Skrin faction. Doesn't look like we've had any scouts make their way from Noab into Futurama's base. So if this was some sort of descent rush, we wouldn't see it coming until maybe it was too late.
Buggy is out from the HoxaeB, so he will be spotting for a potential secret push, descent push, of course, this early in the game. He does have a Milton squad in the north as well.
Raider Buggy denying the scouting opportunities there for Futurama, so if he's going to cook something up, this would be the time to do it. And Tournament Airstrip being one of these literally wide maps, if you don't have vision for too long, it can begin to bite you in the butt, and you need to keep an eye on Noab, you need to keep an eye on Nod in general. If we take a look at our economy, it looks like Futurama's only slightly ahead despite having those better Harvesters like we mentioned before. And I'm guessing that Tiberium Spike will play a role in it. Still nothing weird yet from either player. It looks like they're both going for, at least for the moment, macro-oriented builds.
Yeah, I mean, Futurama does have 2 of those 3 spikes on this map, so he'll be looking pretty right now. Looks like HoxaeB will opt to go for the double faction kill himself. The staple coming back online for the Nod player. Super aggressive as always. Futurama should be able to deal with that, but only time will tell. There were a lot who have feared HoxaeB's 2 War Factory in this event, and a lot who have succumbed to it as well.
Tib Spike is going to see this coming. Looks like bikes might move their way. No, they've gone down to the south, gone down for the natural expansion. That is going to be less defended. There's only 1 Seeker Tank here for it. Volley popping its way out, going for the portal. Descents popping their way out for the defense as well. Raider Buggies moving their way in, going to knock out the Descents. Only 4 bikes here so far, but they should deal at least a good amount of damage. 1 Seeker Tank does get targeted and goes down. The trade so far good for Noab. Disintegrators going down left and right. Attack bikes going for the Seeker Tanks. Photon Cannon there on the front line for defense. Futurama buying himself more time and continuing with his trades.
Behind all this, we do see Futurama getting his own tech established. I assume this should be a tier 2 coming down from him any second now. And it will be a refinery instead, so opting for more of a conservative, more of an economic play from him, as we do see the bike buggy from the HoxaeB coming in from the top, just taking a poke at some Seekers, trying to go in for the Harvesters, but the defense is too strong from Futurama as another filtering goes down, and the HoxaeB will have to run with his tail between his legs, not really being able to get anything out of this attack.
His microing has been really strong, and he's found great value in these units, not losing them left and right like you would expect him to do. Photon Ken going to get targeted, going down to half HP. Seeker Tanks moving their way in for the final punch. Raider Buggy's trying to get a couple of these descents, but they're going to go from Predator to Prey just as quickly. The bikes might just barely make it out in time, though, which would be the primary bit of punching power. However, they are by themselves, and they're not going to be able to deal with these descents just quite yet. Scorpion Tanks here for Noab. Operations Center here for Noab as well, but I'm not sure we're going to expect something sneaky. I think it's going to be a dozer upgrade cooking in the background, more than likely. Tips bike finally going to get targeted? No, it looks like there's going to be a couple of wasted shots. 2 bikes getting forgotten over here in the south, unfortunately, there for Noab.
Looks like I believe the Harvester will be getting caught out from Futurama. He has forgot that he doesn't own the map just yet. The Harvester will be getting, never mind, phased by Futurama as the Seekers roll in to try and save the day. The Harvester is going right back into this blue Tiberium, rocking that phase like the best thing it has ever worn. Styling on the opponent.
Noab actually being the first one to move into his natural expansion. Typically, that's what Futurama's been doing. Noab stepping up his expansion gain, maybe trying to find a little more gains there where he can, mixing a couple of bikes here with these Scorpion Tanks. Mass Scorpion Tanks are going to be quite good, but these descents don't really have an answer just quite yet. Scorpion Tanks are kind of cross-eyed when firing at infantry overall, and indeed, we see the majority of the shots miss over and over. They can't hit the broad side of the barn unless the barn is not moving, and these descents are moving.
We'll see if Futurama is going to be on the expansion himself, as MC might be getting caught out by these Venoms. Not a lot of anti-air going around for the screen right now, but MC will get deployed. Looks like a turret probably will be queued for these Venoms.
Bikes getting caught there in the north. Scorpion Tanks having to back their way out. No dozer upgrade, I don't think, just quite yet, but I'm having a hard time clicking it. No, they do indeed have the dozer upgrade. A couple of Venoms out and ready to go, sniping, at the very least, a couple of those disintegrators. Tripods out for Futurama, which means we have that T3 sitting around here somewhere.
Shields on the way for Futurama, but so are the lasers for HoxaeB. It's going to be a battle of shield versus laser, the higher technology. Which one will come out on top? I guess we will see.
Drone trip sort of going for an aggressive deployment, regrouped here by those tripods. Tripods getting shield upgrade there in the background. His tripods will do well into this assault. Man spam can take it out. Rocket squads will do quite well into them if they play it, as Futurama's now being aggressive with his drone platform, building a defensive platform, or building something for defense there in the background, as well as a couple other things. Hopefully it's going to be AA batteries, because he will have a hard time dealing with those Venoms, and indeed it is. AA battery there on the front line, taking a couple shots on there on the Venom. Venom going down to half HP and going to get destroyed. Tripods moving their way in, looking for something to snack on. Going to get a Harvester. There's the one click there on the MCV, on a good chunk of those tanks. Stealth bombers moving their way in, taking down the shields down of the tripods. Tripods continuing their assault. Seeker Tanks absorbing plenty of the shots here in the north. Avatars joining the fray. Refinery going down there for Noab. Noab's MCV might be in trouble if he doesn't play his cards right. He's trying to group his forces, and he does have one stealth bomber ready to go. There is the one click finally up. Venom's moving their way in. A couple of damage being dealt here to the construction yard. Construction yard having a laser fence almost light there on the front line to deal with a couple of these units. This could go either way, as the MCV does go down. The construction yard does go down for Noab. Noab is in trouble. It looks like he's losing forces left and right. It looks like the tech so far for the tripods is winning, but it could still go either way. This obelisk light hasn't been knocked out just quite yet. Only 3 tripods remaining. Shields popping up. Engineers going into tripod after tripod. Having those portals there on the front line is going to make a massive difference there for Futurama. He could have lost his assault. This tug of war could have gone against him, but he is not going to be found wanting in this assault as he pushes Noab out of the center of the map.
And out of the game.
Futurama going 3-2 so far in Noav. He is winning, but Noav's not making it easy. Still could go either way. All of these fights could have gone either way, especially that one there in the end. But Futurama definitely came out on top, made less mistakes, and transitions just slightly quicker than his opponents. Our next map is, of course, Tournament Underground, favored by the tiny forklift. It might help if I put it on the right scene. Over in our bottom left, switching back to Black Hand, we have Noav in the purple. Who's in our right, Xads?
We, of course, have the one and only Futurama once again, switching his faction, opting to go this time for Traveler 59. The Cyan Twin is among us.
I'm starting to think I might be right. Futurama might be trying to play one of every faction. There is one game if this goes all the way out. So we might see going from Traveler to Reaper 17 after this. If my prediction's correct, it would be super funny if that's what he's going to do. Professor Raw Squad moving into the center of the map, protecting the Saboteur so he can grab the contested Tiberius Spike. Futurama's not going to get it this time. Noav is.
And as the Hive grabs that spike, Futurama lets him because he's being really sneaky with his own engineer. He has an engineer coming to the top spike, which usually is very risky, but since you're playing against Black Hand, they're actually super slow, so you can afford to almost safely move your engineer across and just capture a spike.
Engineer's going to have a long journey ahead of him. I think he can get that fast legs upgrade. But that's going to have a hard time really doing too much for him just in general. A couple of scouts for Noav making their way into Futurama's base. Flame Tank out for Noav. So far, Futurama has not scouted this. He only has one buzzer squad here in the front line. Does look like they do finally catch it, giving Futurama just a little bit of extra time. Professor Cabal squad's not staying ahead of the curve, not staying ahead of the scout, which means the Flame Tank's going to get revealed, making its way down Main Street on the center of the map. Futurama needs to cook something up, need to get a Secret Tank or something. So far, still no real response from him, just quite yet.
Looks like he hasn't really paid attention to the flame of his opponent. Now he sees it. There's the units, there's the defensive, but Flame Tank is already here. It has arrived, and it's targeting both the War Faction and the Rafani. Terrible mistake that Futurama placing this building so close together. Reckoner arrives as well. Engineer is going to try and save the day, but it's too little, too late, as the Flame Tank goes elite, and the Reckoner comes down. And there's simply nothing here left for Futurama, nothing in it to win it. Only one Secret Tank on the map. All the Engineers have died to the flames, and it's a Reckoner in his base that he cannot dislodge. Futurama left with nothing, stripped down to his bare bones by the flames of his opponents. The Black Hand reigns supreme.
Noav tying up the score once again. These games going much quicker than I expected them to do. That is 3-3. That's 6 games, and we're tied up once again. There are 3 more on the horizon, but it depends on match point. Welcome to Winter Meltdown. Our score is tied up for the 3rd time. Over in the bottom left, sticking with Black Hand once again, this is Noav.
And in top right, playing as the Traveler once more, we of course have the Cyan Futurama.
Futurama making me a liar, not going Reaper, sticking with Traveler 59. I don't blame him. There's a lot of money on the line. There's a tournament on the line, but the other option's funnier.
To be fair, Reaper is not too bad against Black Hand. I mean, any sprint faction really struggles early game versus a Flame Rush, but Reaper, after it gets going, can be very scary. I mean, later stages of the game, it does fall off. It doesn't have as much tools as something like Traveler or Nod, but it does have a powerhouse of units. The Shardwalker, the tripod with its charge, the Reaper tripod, notably, is just an amazing unit, an amazing combination of units you can go for with Reaper, and it's super, super powerful.
Give me 1 second. I think I might be having issues with my stream. I'm not sure if I'm casting at all, actually. I don't know what's going on. I'm in my appropriate scene. Let me swap back and forward. Flame Tank is out over here for Noav. Hopefully the perspective isn't completely gone on y'all's side. Maybe it's just my phone messing up because of the poor Wi-Fi. You guys will have to let me know in chat because I cannot tell. Flame Tank making its way over to the, across the map. Beginning its journey is going to be seen by Futurama. I'm going to try to multitask here and get the stream up and going again.
The question is, will Futurama react to this Flame Tank, unlike in the last game? He did see it then as well, but just simply didn't do anything about it until it was too little too late. Secret Tank is out from Futurama, so it looks like this time around he will be a little more successful. Reckoner on its way as well from the Hive. Will bump into the Seeker and can carry on its merry way. More Seekers are on the map though this time, however, as the Flame Tank and the Reckoner are met with some opposition. Peppering coming on from the Seeker Tanks onto the Flame Tank. Reckoner must deploy too early. Short of the refinery, Flame Tank now in red health and won't be able to do enough here as the Reckoner does reach the refinery somehow, but is ultimately not enough and will be getting taken down by Futurama. Great start for the Scrim player.
Looks like I did at least temporarily lose connection, but it looks like I'm back so far. So sorry for the inconvenience. I can always fix it later with Xads. Looks like plenty of Seeker Tanks here for the defense for Futurama. Noav getting delayed, not able to deploy his Reckoner where he needed to, and not even really able to get any gains off of that rush, and that's going to bite in the butt because now Futurama is 2K ahead per minute in the bank, 5K total resources gathered.
And in the meantime, he's going to go for even more economy, cementing his lead on the economic front. Simultaneously, we do see the Seekers making their way across the map as a second orchard comes down from the Hive.
Bike and Buggy moving their way in, taking a couple of good shots off of the Seeker Tanks. Going to get one there in the shadow of the building. It's double war factory for Noav, but so far those buzzer squads inside that garrison are going to see a lot of what is coming his way, so Futurama's going to have plenty of time to prepare for that. Bikes making their way down the southern section of the map, backing off, and good thing too, because there's a couple of descents there. It actually looks like they're going to go for the Seeker Tanks instead, buying Futurama just a little more time, but he is unfortunately going to lose these forces for it, as one Seeker Tank does get destroyed. Bikes going in for the kill, trying to mop up a couple of ones. Another bike going to go down. That's good for Futurama at the very least. It's going to buy him a little more time, a little more safety from that assault, as a secondary bike goes down in the skirmishing phase. Slows down here in the center of the map.
Hive stabilizing his economy in the north, getting at least the refinery down on that field. Futurama, on the other hand, opting to go for a lot more infantry. Fast legs will be researched by him as well, by the looks of it. He's going to be looking at fast leg descent as the unit combination of choice.
Bike and Buggy moving their way in the north, but they're going to be found wanting because it looks like the Seeker Tanks are already here for the defense. Futurama, once again, has so much map control, despite not actually having units all the way over here. Controlling those garrison units, seeing what's coming, has given him plenty of time to prepare, and he's even got a couple of buzzer squads inside of Noav's base, continuing to do their scouting. Descents are going to get caught over here in the southern section, so that's going to be bad for them. Raider Buggies being a great solution to this, but if they stop, they will go down. So far, the kiting is real here for Noav. Noav doing a good job of mopping up these forces. He does forget them, and looks like one does get targeted, but it doesn't. Nope, it does finally go down. 4 going to go for the chase here. Maybe run for the safety of one of the buildings. Either way, minor skirmish. It looks like even more squads are going to move their way into the center of the map, distracting. And actually over in the northern section of the map, there's Seeker Tanks. Futurama going on the attack, distracting his opponent. Buzzer squads here for the scout. Going to see what's happening beforehand. Looks like the Sens are going to stop there in the center, whether to gain control or just for a quick breather. Seeker Tanks moving their way in, going for the Harvesters. Going to destroy. No, it looks like the Harvester does back out. Noav's got a bit more control here, but is it going to help against all these descents as they roll their way in? Shredder turrets there on the background for the defense. Seeker Tanks having to back out as well because of all these attack bikes making their way in. Couple of descents do make it past the Shredder turret, but another one gets deployed just as quickly. Harvester's getting targeted left or right, but no real focus fire. Lightning Spike there in the front line as well, as Seeker Tank does go down. So far, this is still favoring Futurama as more and more descents join the fight and join the fray, but it is beginning to dwindle for Futurama. He's got those repair drones in the background, which seem to be making a difference, and he does kill a Harvester and is beginning to slow down the economy of Noav while attacking in the south as well, it looks like.
Gangs feeling at home here in the north, displacing all of the Hive's economy from the top field. It is finally back on the line, but it's a lot of lost mining time and a big hit to his economy and economic growth. So we do see more distance rolling in. That lightning spike still stands strong, and more bikes falling victim to the infantry of the Traveler player. As the Harvester is finally getting targeted now by these descents. Not going to be enough to quite kill it, but it is going to be enough to cause a pretty big ruckus in the base of HoxaeB.
Assault finally is over. Lightning Spike does go down, but the damage is already dealt. If we take a look at the economy, Futurama's 3K ahead, which is not quite as much as he could be ahead, but that should increase over time because of all those Harvesters being off the line. Noah actually getting caught by a good number of Descents over here. Descents trying to get a couple of kills, and they do indeed go for exactly what they need to, which are the Raider Buggies. 2 Raider Buggies going to go down. That's good for Futurama. Not only is he killing these units, but he's also maintaining the pressure, pushing Noah into the tempo that he wants. Fast Legs having so much value there for Futurama. One of these Raider Buggies getting actually pretty close to heroic.
In the meantime, we do see Futurama expanding aggressively onto the bottom middle field with his MCV, with his Prodigy, and we do see a Hexabot on the way for him as well. He's secured the tech lead and the unit advantage here in this game by his relentless assault onto the enemy Harvesters.
Eradicator Hexabot making its first foray onto the map, and over there in the background, it looks like Futurama was able to grab, I missed how, he was able to grab one of the buildings there of Noav and sell it off. So I don't think it was a T3 or anything like that, but it was still something there in the background. He got his MCV. That's absolutely devastating. I can't believe I missed that. Bike and Buggy running into all of these Eradicator Hexapods. Noav, it might be in a bit of danger, but so is this Harvester over on the natural expansion for Futurama. Photon Cannon gonna go down as the Bike and Buggy continue their onslaught, trying desperately to get the tempo back in Noav's favor. He needs to turn things around. He needs to get things out and going. Descents moving their way in, going to take out a couple of these attack bikes here for free. It looks like Noah, forgetting his forces, just going to absolutely lose them, and there goes the majority of them. They do take out one Harvester as a consolation prize, but that's really about it. Eradicator Hexapod making its way to the center of the map. Tripods going down here on the south, marching on these hubs.
They'll be forced to back off, however, due to these beam cannons piling up for HoxaeB. Quite a formidable force for Scrin to deal with. If you really don't have a lot of artillery in this game, beam cannons could be a menace. But you really need a big number of them for it to start being a problem. Hexabot in the north is coming in to party as well.
Flame Tank in the north over on the top right-hand side, going for the refinery, going for the old main base as the Eradicator Hexapod makes its way inside his opponent's base. Flame Tank finally going to go down, but the Eradicator Hexapod is here to stay, going for the Operations Center. Probably going to get it here soon. There's the repair, but it's not going to matter. All these Harvesters are now in danger. They're now in trouble, and they're going to put money into the bank of Futurama. If Futurama plays his cards right, beam cannons moving in, dealing their damage. This could spell the doom unless there's something sitting in the background there to get a little bit of teleporting, or if he gets a phase off. Black Hand going to continue their chase. Eradicator Hexapod getting pushed into the top center of the map. Futurama not sitting idly by, going for another MCV. Descents moving their way forward, but they do not see it. They do not catch it. They're not paid attention whatsoever. Eradicator Hexapod does look like it was able to make it out. Descent's going to go down. Futurama getting a little bit sloppy there, but he still has map control, and he has
Of HoxaeB as Futurama runs away with that victory over the construction yard of his opponent. HoxaeB left with no other choice but to push forward with the army that he has. Pushed back by the double MCV capture on this map, he's now forced into an aggressive playstyle by Futurama.
No Corruptors here for the Eradicator Hexapod. Beam cannons moving their way forward, maybe getting a little bit too close, getting a couple of pot shots off. There's the phase there for the Hexapod, but it's not close enough to be dealing damage. And followed up by a one-click, catching the majority of the army here for a couple of Harvesters moving in to absorb some of the damage. But will it matter? No, it won't, because Noav throws in the towel. Losing 2 MCVs was too much for him to handle. Futurama getting 7,000 in the bank from that, taking yet another point, bringing our score 4-3 in Futurama's favor.
HoxaeB sort of crumbling under pressure. The Seeker Descent a little too much to handle. The initial flame rush also not going well this time around, and it's a little bit too much. HoxaeB just not keeping up, not missing the Prodigy twice, letting it capture his construction yard, and really sealing the deal there for himself. Not a great game from him, but we have seen some better ones, and we probably will in the future. Game number 8 will be the next, and it is a match point for Futurama.
Commander, there may not be a rift between you and I, but there is on this map, which of course is Tournament Rift. Quick item of note, Tournament Rift is a bit different from Tiberium Rift. There is no longer a spot here in the center for units to make their way through. There's blue Tiberium in the south and contested Tiberium in the north. Over on our left-hand side, switching back to Scrin, this is Futurama.
And it's upright, the person who needs to win this game at any cost. We, of course, have the one and only Purple Nod, HoxaeB.
Noab doing fairly well throughout the entirety of the tournament and not doing too bad in Futurama overall, but definitely getting devastated by the loss of 2 MCVs. That's got to sting, that's got to hurt. What I think is what's going to boil down at this point is, does he have the mental to continue? Hopefully he doesn't start to experience tilt and we continue to see great game after great game. Refinery's cooking up in the background for both players, preparing their expansions, or preparing their main base to move on to their expansions as harvesters pop out on both war factories, respectively.
Nice anti-scout by HoxaeB, but he does miss one buzzer. It does sneak through for Futurama. Those pesky buzzers really hard to get sometimes as they're super fast. It finally dies, but it does give Futurama the information he needs. And he desires to see if there's a flame rush or not, as he has already fallen victim to that strategy today. He does not want to repeat the past.
Just goes to show you how powerful Black Hand Flame Tanks Rush are. If even Futurama, players like Futurama and Master Leaf still experience that, Futurama being one of these cream of the crop players, someone's able to get a Flame Tank Rush off on them along with a couple of Reckoners. And tighten it up definitely a bit more in that second one, and Noab was not able to get the same kind of gains that he wanted to, which is probably why Futurama decided to be cheeky, because Noab tried it twice against him, so he's going for a little bit of revenge, I feel.
It appears we have a second war factory on the horizon for HoxaeB. Let's see if Futurama is able to pull this one out, and this defense out of his pocket, or whether or not HoxaeB will be more successful with his 2 war factory plays that he is so familiar with.
Futurama building at least one Seeker Tank, not sure where it disappeared to. Looks like it's 2 Seeker Tanks over here in the south defending his natural expansion, which might be where Noab is going. Sending a couple of bikes there by themselves. One Raider buggy making its way there, but it's going to run directly into these attack bikes if he's not careful. He does scout them, he does see them, backs off just in time. Scouts moving in sort of as a precursor to this assault. Noab going to take some time and look for a hole in Futurama's armor, if Futurama does have that armor. Does look like we've got a portal there for the defense. Probably a couple of disintegrators going to pop their way out. And indeed, there they are to absorb some of the shots and hopefully catch some of these bikes wanting.
HoxaeB coming around the top here with his bike buggy, seeing that there is a defensive line on the bottom. He cannot crack. One Seeker taking some pot shots from those bikes. Another dive in for HoxaeB as Seeker goes down. And a second dive coming in through for HoxaeB. A second Seeker will follow, but a photon cannon will ultimately chase the Nod army away. 2 Seekers falling victim for a single bike. Not a big price to pay for HoxaeB.
Noab rolling past the Tiberium Spike, trying to outmaneuver his opponent, but these Ascents are here and ready for the defense. They may not be as fast as these units, but they will absorb plenty of the shots, and they don't want them to get close. Attack bikes looking for something to snack on, might actually find a hole, going for one of the Harvester. They should have plenty of volleys to take it out if they time their card right. There it is. Harvester going to get targeted. Harvester going to go down just as quickly. Unfortunately, didn't have a full load of Tiberium and had a half a load as the Seeker Tank goes down there in the background. Most of the bikes did make it out of that engagement. That's exactly what you want to see from this bike and buggy combination. He wasn't able to get a massive amount of Harvester, but every little bit counts in these higher skilled games.
Nice pickoffs from HoxaeB, but at the same time, he was a little bit slacking on his eco. It is now established a little bit later in Futurama, but ultimately it does not matter too much. We do see another engagement happening here at the spike of Futurama. Some Seeker Tanks falling victim to the spike buggy, but Hive has to be careful. He cannot afford to lose too many units as he's going so much into economy right now. And Futurama is looking pretty scary with all those Seeker tanks. Another dive in for Hive, and another bike will trade for a Seeker tank. Hive going in for another one. It's a little bit too ambitious from him. 2 Seekers fall victim this time as the Hive comes back for another, and another Seeker will follow.
Scorpion tanks joining the fray. Noav so far being, unfortunately for him, a little bit predictable, but just because it's predictable doesn't mean that it's not going to work. And Scorpion tanks are a good transition here. The problem is going to be dealing with those disintegrators, which it seems like Futurama has gone pretty heavily in. 2 engineers over here on the south going to look for something to snack on. Disintegrators preceding them rather quickly. Oh no, they are now in danger. No, the Raider Buggy turns around. Come on, there's a snack just right around the corner. Go for it, Raider Buggy. And indeed, he's going to move his way in, but can he see them? It looks like that is not the case so far. That's 1,000 in cash there to grab, to eat if they can see it, but of course they cannot. Disintegrator is going to move their way in, killing the Raider Buggies, giving those engineers time to make it into the Tiberium spikes. Futurama continuing his scouting escapade as a harvester in the north goes down with a full load of Tiberium, but not blue Tiberium. Futurama long distance harvesting so far, maybe hurting on his economy right now. And indeed, it looks like Noav is ahead of the economy.
But not for too much longer as those engineers make their way over. Futurama potentially going to be securing himself a 2-spike lead, which short term might not do too much and might not seem too scary, but the longer the game goes on, the more those spikes will benefit Futurama, and the scarier we'll get for Hive. Tripods out on the map as well, as we do see the tech center, I assume, for both players.
Upgrades about halfway complete on both of those tech centers for Noav and for his opponent. Descents continuing to move their way in, dealing damage after damage. It looks like the answer is going to be Venoms, and they're not able to get really anything. Pretty good transition there. So far, pretty consistent for Noav with everything he's building working out in his favor for the most part. We did finally get the Dozer upgrade there for the Scorpion tanks and probably the laser capacitor. There it is, right on cue. Is Futurama going to be prepared for this kind of predictable transition here for Noabs? 2 stealth tanks preceding the assault, 1 at half HP, it looks like. Looking for something to snack on.
Here come these Scorpions from the Hive. He's going to be committing into these tripods, but will he back away? There's so many tripods here towering across this landscape of blue Tiberium, and yes, he will. 2 free tanks get lost here to this force. Oh no, stealth tank get revealed by the disintegrator squads, and both of them going down. Harvester from the Hive will be harvesting the blue tip though. No Seekers inside, so it might be safe unless it gets stepped on by a tripod. Oh my god, I was so close. It does, however, get away.
Futurama's already moved into the contested Tiberium field in the north. No real response here from Noav. We do actually have a carry-all with an engineer in it. Not sure what the plan is for that one. Maybe he's trying to get a spike back or do something cheeky. Either way, if it's not careful, it's going to run right into this Gunwalker. Gunwalker not able to catch it. Carry-all making its way across the map still. But I don't know what its plan is. There's an AA battery there.
Trying to go for the attack, but he's to no avail as the A battery will foil Nohive's plans. In the meantime, in the middle, we do see Futurama grabbing the blue tip himself with 2 of his harvesters.
You're having an echo issue from me or from Xads?
Engineer getting placed down next to the MCV of Futurama, but a Buzzer Hive will be in time to save Futurama from an embarrassment by the enemy engineer.
Just your audio. Super weird. Assault beginning in earnest. Sorry about the poor audio quality. I'm not sure what's going on there. Scorpion tanks gonna move their way in with the laser capacitors, looking for something to snack on. Let me pop on and off the echo from your mic. Assault not beginning in earnest. Maybe players giving me just a little bit of time to figure out what's wrong with my weird audio.
Has come out for Nohive. No HoxaeB inside for Futurama. Looks like he will not be relying on his own epic units for this game, but the line of tripods is looking menacing enough, to be fair. Buzzer Hives coming down, the A batteries are here. The playfield is set up for both players. Nohive bringing in his own construction yard And the infantry army with the Redeemer, with the avatars, with the Venoms on the top is really prepared and ready to go to contest this Tiberium field. Meanwhile, Scorpions in the bottom as well, cleaning up the Harvesters, trying to go for the blue, and all the Seekers dying there as well. Great attack from the Hive. Futurama forced to split off some of his tribots to try and deal with those units in the bottom. In the meantime, the Hive will probably be mounting an attack as MCU pack up. And on an adventure here into the field of Tiberium as the Redeemers inches on forward to try and get a good rage gen off on all those tripods. Scorpions in the bottom in the meantime, trying to cause a distraction as the Redeemer will get prepared for the rage gen.
Buzzer Hive goes down and comes up just as quickly. Redeemer marching its way down the center of the map, looking for something to snack on, looking for the base destruction of his opponent. There's the one click locking down the Redeemer, but not the majority of these rocket squads. A couple of them are going to be forced to roll right into it as the tripods march their way on these units, but there's so many avatars, and there's an Obelisk of Light there on the front line. There's the one click for it. Looks like the Gunwalker as he gets so many crushes, destroying unit after unit. Redeemer still not ready to go, but if he's not careful, as soon as it pops up, he's gonna be in danger. There's the EMP for the Redeemer. Redeemer stuck, not able to do too much. Scorpion takes down there over on the left-hand side. Phase finally ending for that one Gunwalker. Redeemer going down, tripods going down, EMPs coming out, defensive portal, as well as Buzzer Hive. Obelisk of Light doing so much damage, still can go either way. Redeemer gonna get taken down there rather quickly. Only 3 tripods left in this engagement. Nothing really to deal with the Venoms just quite yet. No Gunwalkers on the front line to deal with this. More and more tripods join the fray. It looks like the Scorpion Hicks did win their engagement down in the bottom left-hand corner. Venoms continuing their assault, going for Harvester, or going for tripod after tripod, finally killing some of these Harvesters, maybe able to dislodge Futurama here from the center of the map. Noev having 2 heroic rocket squads there in the background. Avatars moving their way forward. The assault is not over. Buzzer squads, mass Buzzer Hive. Gonna be the name of the game for this, but they're gonna get destroyed as they march their way in, but they are gonna absorb a good number of damage. First couple of shock troopers down over on the bottom left-hand side to deal with those Scorpion tanks.
Tier 3 is down for Futurama. He's setting things in the back, preparing for a last assault here. He is still harvesting in the middle though, so he does have that slight edge in terms of the Tiberium from the middle going for him. Though in the ecograph it does appear that the Hive getting all that blue tip is ahead on economy. And it's a lot of avatars here for only 4 tripods to handle. Obelisk coming down as we do have the avatars engaging the tripods. 5th, 6th avatar coming out as more infantry and Obelisk goes down. 1 tripod in the red. EMP firing off and missing. More Buzzer Hives coming out now here to try and quell the infantry. Gunwalkers marching on in, but now met with the avatars and nasty EMP firing off for the Hive, and another tripod falls. It's only 2 tripods remaining, and there's so many forces here. Another EMP locking down the remaining tripods. All Gunwalkers are down. There's only 2 Buzzer Hives remaining for the infantry, and it's simply not enough. Futurama needs something in this game, but he simply doesn't have it. His back of his base is destroyed by the Scorpion tanks, and the tripods fall one by one as none remain. One gets recaptured, the second comes up, but there's too many avatars to deal with. Futurama selling off his refining in the front line, but it's simply not enough. Another engineer comes out, another recapture of the husk, but the avatars just kill it on cooldown, and Futurama has gone down. Fallen victim to the onslaught of the not player. 4-4 is the score. We're all tied up heading into this title match.
Noev truly going blow for blow with Futurama, knocking it out of the park. Our score is tied up, like he said, once again. Match point on the horizon. 14-minute and 1-second long game. Noev somehow found a victory in all of that chaos. We finally get to see it. This is Tiki Turmoil. Thank you so much for the subscribe. You're actually my first true subscriber that I did not gift. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Our score is tied up 4-4 on Tiki Turmoil, of course, over in the top right. Going to GDI in the cyan. This is Futurama.
And the bottom left playing as the purple-black hand. We, of course, have the winner of the last game. but not yet a winner of this series, although time will tell that one. We, of course, have HoxaeB.
HoxaeB seeming to come out of almost nowhere in this tournament and just taking victory after victory, getting underestimated by not only us casters, but by plenty of his players and plenty of the other opponents that they run into. HoxaeB has the potential to win the whole thing, but so does Futurama and so does Bike. There's so many top contenders, but really the final boss is definitely going to be BikeRushOwnz. He's one of these massively skilled players, but it's not impossible to win a tournament, but he's got $1,000 on the line. If you ever wanted to motivate Bike Rush, put 1K on the line, and you're going to see a good performance out of him.
In the meantime, in this game, we are just seeing some economy going forward for both players. Not really much else happening. No rushes. Perhaps a second war pack shot on HoxaeB, but we'd have to wait a little bit for that one to see if it gets plopped down or not. It has certainly worked out for him pretty well overall in all of these games.
Natural expansion is already being expanded upon by both players' MCVs, deploying rather quickly. HoxaeB just slightly ahead, producing his refinery there in the background. Futurama, of course, is going to see that with his scouts sitting there, but so can be said for HoxaeB with his capacitor ball squads just being past, actually doing what's normally a GDI tactic, just absolutely letting loose on that power plant. Words are hard. Looks like we're going to get a couple of APCs, rocket squads in at least 2 of them, in 3 of them so far. So rocket squads, rifleman squad, probably another APC, and it looks like 2 pit bulls going to make their way down the map. So far, HoxaeB is unaware, and there are scouts to precede it. Futurama being absolutely on point, definitely feeling the pressure, needs to get a victory if he's going to take on the champ, if he's going to take on BikeRushOwnz.
Reducing half, dropping down a barracks, probably preemptively seeing this push coming in. Futurama being a little more hesitant than he perhaps needs to be. Dropping back, not sure what he's waiting for. Perhaps he saw the barracks, perhaps he's a little bit scared of the units that HoxaeB is able to put out on defense, and he's actually going to be heading back all the way. Not sure if there's any bikes or something that he might be afraid of in the back of his base, but it does appear that he has called off the assault. And he's going back on his push.
APCs and Pitbull not able to find the soft target that they wanted. HoxaeB producing a healthy number of rocket squads and capacitor ball squads, selling off a power plant as well to get an additional number, maybe anticipating assault sooner rather than later. Raider Buggy going down inside the natural expansion for Futurama as Futurama makes his way down the southern section of the map, and the missile squad make their way across the northern section of the map, maybe going for a tip spike, trying to see what they can see and eat what they can eat. Once again, the transition for HoxaeB is going to be Scorpion tanks, sort of right on the money. And he's got an operations center, maybe trying to put his opponent on the back foot as well. But Futurama might see it. He's got a rifleman squad that was ignored, and it's going to march his way directly into the base. And indeed, he is in range to see it. So he's going to see that operations center is ready to go. We did get a little bit of a defensive tower, but Futurama might know something is up. It's happened to him twice so far, so it wouldn't be too much of a problem to predict a 3rd time on the horizon.
Futurama Tiberium Spike will be getting taken out by the infantry of HoxaeB. First intended for defense, but in last used for offense. They will claim the life of that spike over there. We do see Scorpion tanks from HoxaeB also getting dropped back when faced with the Predator tanks of Futurama in the south.
Unfortunately, it looks like on my end, I might have lost connection to Twitch at some point because once again, my stream is dead. Not sure what's going on. Either way, we're going to continue moving forward, just like Futurama, getting a little bit of revenge here on the tip spike of his opponent. That means a little bit of extra gold, or a little bit extra income went towards HoxaeB, at least in those early stages, while that tip spike was still up. Manspam making their way over into the 2nd natural expansion for Futurama.
Hammerheads and multi-MCV is on the way for Futurama. One of his MCVs making its way over to his opponent's expansion field. Flame Tank from the Hive is also in the north, while his infantry and Scorpion tanks are in the south. But does he have it enough here to deal with the Hammerheads of Futurama?
Hammerhead's spotting the Flame Tank, which means it's going to go down before anything can really happen. That's going to be unfortunate for Noab. He did sneak one over here in the north, making its way into the main base. Should be able to get some sort of gains over here. Hopefully, it looks like Futurama has learned his lesson and has spaced out his War Factory and his Refinery. Sonic Emitter there on the front line to try to save the War Factory, as well as the Cavalry, the Flying Cavalry, making their way across the map. Noab controlling his opponent's natural expansion, his second natural expansion over here in the south. No upgrades other than the Dozer upgrade for the Scorpion tanks, so no laser capacitor just quite yet. However, T3 is out, so it might be cooking up in the oven. Noab finally moving his way in. Go ahead.
Man is here in the army competition, but is stepping a little too far forward. Orchestra coming down here on the infantry. Will get a rocket squad. The Mantis now getting targeted by the Hammerheads. But it will be taking the massive splash coming out from the Hive. Mantis will die, but it will do its job. All the Hammerheads going to go down here to this infantry now. And this attack has not been fully successful. It will get thwarted by this spread APC, but actually, never mind. The infantry here is so good, and the rushes aren't good enough. The priority tanks will fall victim to this. Another Hammerhead has to be dispatched when the watch tower going down, but now the Harvest is under fire, and simultaneously there's an assault on the left. This is where the main action is. Obelisk coming down, and infantry coming out from the Hive to try and stop this push of Futurama, this aggressive expansion onto his own territory. The Marv will come out for Futurama, however, but his eco is still under fire on the right. The infantry doing so much damage and causing so much havoc here on the right-hand side of the map. The Harvest Show looks like it will survive for Futurama, but this is a lot of damage, a lot of disruption that was caused. All the Hammerheads dying to those Mantises, and double Obelisk drop on the left. And the MCU will go down. It's only the Marv left alone with no support, only rifle squads to its name. And there's Purifiers on the way from the Hive. The Marv will have to back off. Futurama's attack has been thwarted, and his expansion stopped.
Futurama might be running out of steam, and it looks like they're in the background. We've got another Hand of Nod. What works really well into these Marvs is producing a healthy number of rocket squads. The Purifiers don't do too bad either, and it looks like there's no grenade squads inside of the Marv this time around, so it's not going to deal with infantry quite as well as it normally does, especially rocket squads selling off of 2 of the Obelisk of Lights, and it looks like he's going to progress his way into the natural expansion, finally getting a foothold and kicking out Futurama as he begins another assault with these Purifiers. Purifiers trying to chase down this Marv, getting a couple of pot shots off here and there. Rocket Squad's finally getting in range as well, but Double Engineer should do a whole bunch for that. Hammerhead's moving in. Hopefully, it looks like there's not a whole bunch to shoot up just quite yet. We do have Tip Core rockets in that singular bike. Hopefully, it's got a couple of brothers here to join the fray as well, but not just quite yet.
Futurama now being forced to expand to his natural third field instead of going for no Hives, as he was pushed back quite relentlessly by the light obelisks of the Nod player. Purifiers and infantry now marching forward, and there's only a few Hammerheads on the map, not enough to deal with this amount of units. No Hive will, however, back off, play a bit more safe, as he does have the faster expansion, and he probably feels a bit more in the lead. Harvesters falling victim to the bikes of the Hive as well, as Hammerheads have to step in forward to try and dispatch those pesky little bikes.
No, I can't afford this trade, because if you're watching the economy, at one point it was 14K to 8K as far as total resources gathered. Noav has about 10K more in the bank in resources gathered. Futurama's keeping up, but it looks like he's finally hitting a little bit of a wall as he's dropped all the way down to 6K per minute. So Noav is back to a 4K minute. Every one of these trades is going to go in his favor. So those attack bikes destroying the Juggernaut, destroying all of those Hammerheads are definitely going to add up. The only thing Futurama has going for him is this Marv, but if it's not careful, it's going to run directly into this conga line of death, making its way over towards the Marv. Rocket Squads, if they get close enough, can do plenty of damage to this Marv. Marv getting close down, already losing about 30% of its HP. One Juggernaut here in the background. Sell off something there in the background, leaving a couple of grenade squads, but will they be able to get close enough? Purifiers looking for something to snack on. There is a little bit of an Orca Strike taking out some of the units. Futurama fighting desperately for his life, but losing Harvesters in the south to the attack bikes. One unit is going to go down. One air unit is going to go down, as the attack bikes are still free to deal their damage in the south.
Marv stepping forward quite brazenly into this amount of units. Futurama not really respecting his opponent, as we do see MP buggies on the map, never before seen in this series. But here we are in HoxaeB unleashing them onto Futurama, and the Marv is now EMP down. It cannot escape as its HP bar inches towards the end, and it is simply nothing here for Futurama, as he has been defeated, and that will crown HoxaeB as the other semi-finalist alongside BikeRushOwnz in this Chrono Clash tournament.
HoxaeB taking out one of the best players in Kane's Wrath, destroying Futurama. It was close, but those EMPs, those attack bikes, and that pressure from HoxaeB absolutely devastating this tournament. Is he going to go on to take on BikeRush? Is he going to destroy BikeRush? This could be an underdog story in the making. Not sure if we're going to get that story today or later on. Stay tuned, and I appreciate you sticking with the stream despite all of my technical difficulties. Once again, massive, massive thank you to Xads. Thank you to Alex06, and a massive thank you to Chronosphere for dropping 2K on this tournament, for giving us a month's worth of replays. Can you feel it, Commander? We have finally made it to the grand finals of the Chrono Clash II on the map Tournament Odyssey. Starting us off over the top right-hand corner of the map, rocking the red in the steel talons. Give it up for BikeRushOwnz. His opponent for the moment, and the current underdog in the bottom left, rocking the purple in the black head. Give it up for HoxaeB into BikeRushOwnz. HoxaeB is the wild card for the tournament. Quick item of note, massive, massive thank you once again, can't say it enough, to Chronosphere for sponsoring the Chrono Clash 2, dropping 2K down for the prize pool and 1K down for first place. BikeRush already moving his scouts into his opponent's side of the map, followed shortly behind HoxaeB doing the same with a little bit less. Professor Graval squad will do a good chunk of damage to these rifleman squads, but with 3 of them here, that should be plenty for its shock troopers are more Professor Graval squads coming down, actually going to destroy the scouts here of BikeRush, but they're gonna scout the base. They're gonna get what they need to deal with. They need to get what they need to get done. Words are hard. 2 refineries out for both players. It looks like they're sticking with their guns, going with pretty normal builds so far. We have seen a bit of rushes here and there from HoxaeB, but nothing just quite yet. BikeRush not having any scouts in there. HoxaeB doing a good job of scouting those down and taking them out. So if he wants to do something sneaky, he can. However, they don't call BikeRushOwnz for no reason. He's going to be ready for these rushes, and he's probably seen some of the games that HoxaeB has played. Hopefully he's done his study if he needs to. It's going to be uphill into a player like BikeRush. Another item of note, though, is also this is a best of 11. So we're going to be in here for the long haul. We're going to be in here for quite some time as these players go back and forward. Steel Talons producing their MRTs, slapping a couple rocket squads inside of them, probably followed by a 3rd and possibly a 4th. Indeed, that is going to be the case. So BikeRush starting with a more traditional strategy. HoxaeB grabbing double War Factory, grabbing a couple of bikes and buggy, preparing for this assault. If BikeRush doesn't tighten up his formations, the bike's going to move their way in and take up a couple of really good shots off of them. There are 4 here so far, which should be able to get a good set of volleys off. 5 would be a little bit nicer as the assault does begin in earnest. There's the 5th one right there, taking a good chunk of damage on the MRT. MRT getting close to going down, but if they're not careful, the bikes are going to get targeted here by another MRT and a Pitbull as well. There's the mine drop, but it doesn't matter as the Micro is definitely on HoxaeB's side, winning this first early skirmish off on BikeRush, kicking him out of his base before anything could really go on. BikeRush, in the meantime, is sitting pretty inside of his base, but if he's not careful and he rests on his laurels, these bikes are going to roll their way directly into his base. This is more than enough to get a Harvester down rather quickly. There is the defensive watchtower going to pop its way out, but the bikes should be able to take it down here pretty soon. defensive Titans on the front line as well to start picking off more of these bikes. One bike does go down, but they send a couple of shots its way. Raider Buggy's here to absorb some of the shots moving their way in. The Microing's going to be really intense in this, and it's going to be really important as two Pitbulls go down in the background, trading there for a couple of the bikes, but now Bike Rush has the upper hand, at least on the Micro. The assault's not over as Noav looks for another opportunity to make his way into Bike Rush's base. One Titan could be the target, but getting close to those Titans is a dangerous game. They may be slow, but they pack a punch, and most importantly, they can take a punch. Noav finally deciding to retreat back into his base, at least for the current moment. Bike Rush building up his slow snowball, his armored snowball, to move his way into the map and hopefully across to Noav. Noav slowing down, not able to find any of the holes that he wants to. There is the scan there for Bike Rush. Bike Rush always trying to maintain that vision and make sure Noav's not up to something sneaky. Noav's already done it to Futurama with a couple of rushes, and actually upset. He did take out Futurama, which many were predicting Futurama would win that. It's really going to boil down to, can he take on the champ, and how well does he fare into a player like Bike Rush? Airfield's going to pop its way down for Steel Talons for Bike Rush, and there's going to be a one-click. Orca's getting a little bit of scouting off here in a minute, but that is going to expose that there is an airfield out on the field. Noav maybe not microing as well as he could have, which means that Harvester's going to take a little bit of damage, but I'm not sure he's got to worry too much about that, because I doubt Bike Rush is going to sneak his way into his base. Raider Buggy's going in for the scout. Noav grouping his forces over on the right. So far being pretty consistent. He's got these Scorpion tanks. Once again, that is going to be the transition. Couple of Bike and Buggy on the left-hand side. We do have a secret shrine. We do have an operations center, probably with a dozer upgrade, if I am led to believe. Orcas look like are going to be the transition. Going to get already a good couple of hot shots off on the Scorpion tanks, killing two, taking one down to half HP. Bike Rush is going to continue this whittling back and forward, not necessarily. And actually, Flame Tank sneaking in over the north, but the Titans are going to fight, and so are the Orcas. Bike Rush is not going to let that Flame Tank sneak through. Not today, not in his house. His title is under threat by Noav, but can Noav maintain the pressure? This is going to be not a sprint, but a marathon. Lightning Fence there on the refinery. Bike Rush just absolutely responsive. He is on his A game. He wants to win that 1K for himself. Bike and Buggy over on the left-hand side, taking a couple shots off on, looks like almost nothing, just sort of dying there for free. I was hoping they were going to get a few shots off on the Titan, but that is not going to be the case. Dozer upgrade completed for the Scorpion tanks. It's Dozer upgrade with Bike and Buggy and a mixture of the Black Hand militant squads, specifically the rocket squads. Bike Rush has built up a healthy amount of not only Titans, but Wolverines with their AP ammo, and it looks like the other transition is going to be Mammoth tanks. Orca's making their way over on the left-hand side. Sam Turret did finally pop its way out, but Bike Rush got exactly what he wants, which was two Harvesters only going down for one Orca. Assault beginning in earnest as the Rocket Squads move their way forward. It's really going to boil down to the linchpin is going to be this focus fire. It's going to be all of the Wolverines. The Wolverines need to go down for them to win this fight, because then they can begin to pick off all of the Titans. Wolverines are finally going down, but there's still so many left, and more joining the fray. Mammoth tank moving in on the right-hand side to get a crush, as well as down on the center. Blue Flame upgrade did complete there in the background, as it looks like this assault can still go either way. Bike Rush getting that railgun upgrade right on time, turning the fight around in his favor. Noav running out of steam and having to run back to his base. Bike Rush rolling into the center of the map, picking off the forces of Noav. Noav has transitioned into his natural expansion at the very least, so that's good for him, but there's more Orcas here, as well as more Sam turrets. I do think they're going to be able to get a good volley off and destroy, maybe. Yeah, indeed, they're going to get another Harvester. Orca's just doing so much damage to the economy of Noav. That's going to hurt him there on the background. More Sam turrets there on the front line. Flame Tank's going to get spotted here by the Hammerhead. Hammerhead's should be able to take it down as Bike Rush makes his way over onto the left-hand side of the map into the old sector of his opponent's base, of Noav's base. Noav still developing this natural expansion a little bit ahead. If we look at the economy, Noav's about 2K ahead as a Blue Flame Tank makes its way into the natural expansion, destroying one of those refineries. Blue Flame Tank going to get caught over here by all of the Titans and is going to go down, but at least he was able to find some purchases. Noav keeping up with his cheekiness. Rocket Squad's getting a good kill on one of those Mammoth tanks. Every one of those Mammoth tanks is going to be really valuable for Bike Rush, and a lot of his armor is hurting. A good chunk of them already at half HP, it looks like. Bike Rush moving more Orcas back in over here. Still no more SAM turret. There is the scan there. Orca's going for the Harvesters. Once again, Noab just cannot get BikeRush outside of his base. BikeRush hitting with these fast-moving Orcas, getting a good amount of kills. They do try to run to the safety of the Harvester, but it only results in a bit of splash damage as yet another Harvester goes down. Noab can keep making these losses back and forth. He can keep taking these trades as long as he stays ahead on the economy, which so far he has. He's about 3K ahead of BikeRush, which is no easy task. Looking for a hole to pop themselves into over on the left-hand side, doing the best they can. Couple of Confessor Ball Squad's going to do few damage to the Rifleman Squads to prevent them from dying, but they're going to need to replace that SAM turret just as quickly because the Orcas are going to be a problem. Plenty of Watchtowers here with AP ammo, and the answer is also going to be these Hammerheads, and I'm sure a couple of Wolverines here in the background, but it looks like BikeRush is not going quite as heavily into those as he could. Railguns launching the first couple of shots. MCV going to join the fray as well. It looks like this is not going to be double MCV because he grabbed the expansion point instead of that, and Noab's now going to be pressuring BikeRush with avatars and all of the man spam. Man spam looking for something to snack on, but still, the defenses for BikeRush are really tight. That's 2 ore factories there on the front line, as well as a couple of singular behemoths so far. No real man spam yet. That's not real surprising coming from Steel Talons. Steel Talons like their armor. A couple of troops are going to take a couple of shots as the assault begins in earnest. BikeRush actually being cheeky, moving his Harvesters in to absorb some of the shots and destroy some of them. Go for the crush. One of them does get a good chunk of them down the center. Adaptive armor popping off for the Titans. Titans getting kills left and right. SAM turrets with their Tip Core rockets here in the background. And this can still go either way. Is Noab going to take on the champ? If he is, this is his best opportunity. Rocket squads rocking all of these units, destroying them, taking them down left and right. Titan going down. Behemoth unloading here in the background. Hand of Nod on the front line. Only one avatar left, joined by a second Hand of Nod. This fight could still go either way. Air Factory there on the front line. Plenty of Watchtowers still in the background. 2 in the front. One going down just as soon as another one pops up just as quickly. The forces for BikeRush are now finally beginning to melt. Nobody really yet does this to BikeRush. BikeRush actually on his back foot if he's not careful. Purifier moving its way in, going for the Titan, going for the Behemoth. War Factory on the front line. So much economy coming here from Noab. Noab's going full send on this, and he's not going to let up whatsoever. Watchtowers getting targeted, but the Hand of Nods are running out of steam. There's not as many forces as there were here before. Purifier and Avatar, or Juggernaut, going to die about the same time. BikeRush having the upper hand finally with these Watchtowers. Watchtowers doing so much for him, popping barracks after barracks down. Laser fence on the MCV for Noab. Noab maybe conserving his stuff just a little bit, sending a flame tank in, not able to get the kill off like he wanted as BikeRush grabs the Purifier of his opponent. Noab actually throwing in the towel, giving the first point to BikeRushOwnz. Noab getting close, but not close enough. At this point, BikeRush is the sun, and Noab might be Icarus if he plays his cards wrong. There are still plenty of games on the horizon. Give me a moment as we boot up the next one. Round number 2 takes place on Tournament Highlands. Over in our bottom left, Noab sticking with his guns, sticking with his Nod factions, now switching over to Nod off of Black Hand. BikeRush sticking with his color, and of course, sticking with his Steel Talons. He found great defense, and he knows that Noab's probably going to be aggressive. Steel Talons not doing too bad on the defense. Those Titans just proving so powerful. Our underdog finally showing cracks in his armor. BikeRush putting him under pressure and holding and just sort of letting the forces of Noab crash against the gates, crash against the shores that is BikeRushOwnz. BikeRush sending out 3 scouts once again to get a healthy amount of scanning, to get a healthy amount of scouting off on his opponents. It's important to get his way in there because even in that last game, even though Noab did not go full send on the rush, he still tried to sneak a couple of blue flame tanks in there. BikeRush was able to take them out, but it still took its toll on the player, on BikeRush. So far, normal openers for both sets. It looks like going to be 2 refineries and a war factory there inside the main base. BikeRush finally able to sneak a 2 pillboxes actually in on his opponents, and a little bit behind on his refinery. That won't matter too much of a difference because GDIs Harvesters are a little bit stronger, but it could make a difference. And this is really going to boil down to who makes these small critical mistakes, who has this consistency. Because you can do well into Bike Rush, but can you do well into 11 games of Bike Rush, or a best of 11? MCV making its way over to the north, and MCV making its way over on the south, right on cue for Bike Rush. Both players truly in lockstep. Bike Rush actually being cheeky. He's got a combat engineer over here on the left-hand side, maybe trying to grab the MCV of his opponent. Hopefully, hopefully Noab does see that. He deploys just a little bit earlier. He's cooking something up in the background, but it's not a defensive tower. Raider Buggy is here. Bike Rush trying to be cheeky. This combat engineer might make its way in. Raider Buggy does finally spot it as it goes down. No, I'm not going to allow that fool's mate to happen to him that quickly. That combat engineer ran so far just to get sniped and destroyed. Double War Factory once again by Noav, building up a couple of Bike and Buggy here in the background. If they're not careful, they're going to run right into these pit bulls, which might be what Bike Rush is waiting for. Raider Buggy going to take a few shots for free as the pit bulls back their way out. Bike Rush just biding his time, developing his natural expansion refinery on the horizon for him, which actually puts him a little ahead of Noav. That combat engineer delayed him ever so slightly, which could cost him the game. And I believe this map does favor GDI overall, as we've stated before. And Steel Talons can do quite well on the defensive and do that continued slow rolling, moving armor. Plenty of Bike and Buggies over here in the south. Once again, looking for something to snack on. Noav, if anything, is definitely consistent. Plenty of pit bulls here for the defense. Watchtower is out. They're not able to find the Harvester that they want to kill as another Watchtower pops its way down. Bike's going in to launch their volleys off on it, and indeed gets super close to taking it out, but Bike Rush does not care. He has the forces, and he's going to continue to build up. A couple MRTs going to join the fray as well, which means skirmishing will favor him because of that repair feature, along with the defender's advantage. Watchtower going to get targeted, going down to about half HP, going to get destroyed, but will it cost all of these bikes? Bike's going to get an MRT on their way out, maybe going to go for a Harvester, and indeed, the Harvester, no, it looks like they're going to go for the Pitbull instead. Not able to get the economic destruction that they want. Raider Buggy's absorbing some of the shots. Pitbull's ready for another set of volleys. Bike's also ready for another set of volleys, but the range is not good. The concave is not good for Noav. Noav taking down another tower, getting close to it, but not wanting to commit to it just quite yet. Bike Rush still having to scout inside his opponent's base. Noav trying to keep the pressure, trying to keep the tempo on his side. Watchtower going to get targeted, but it's actually going to get sold off right before it gets destroyed, and another one's going to replace it just as quickly. Bike Rush, extremely responsive, extremely ready. Rank up for at least one of the rocket squads inside of that as more and more attack bikes do get hammered down and do get destroyed. I don't think Noav wants this fight, but I'm not sure he can get out of it as he loses the lion's share of his bikes. He still has a healthy number of them, and those remaining might get out. If he's not careful, though, his Harvester will get targeted by the pit bulls and destroyed. Scorpion's going to move their way forward in order to protect that blue Tiberium for Noav. Bike Rush probably already grabbing his own blue Tiberium there in the south. There's the mine drop to absorb some of the shots and stop the tanks from moving forward. One MRT going to go down. Titan moving its way forward. Does look like this Harvester is just about complete, and there it is. It's done. No pit bull to reveal it just quite yet, and it should be able to make its way home, but a Titan can still crush it while it is invisible. Harvester finally able to make it back. There's the scan for it. Bike Rush trying to knock that out, trying to maintain his economic lead. That blue Tiberium making it back for Noav will be quite nice to have in the bank. Operations Center there in the background, probably with a dozer upgrade, about halfway complete. Looks like we've already got T3 for Bike Rush. We've got an airfield, which means, once again, we're going to get the probably AP ammo and probably hammerheads, I'm guessing here. Let's take a look. Indeed, we do have the AP ammo. Bike Rush being consistent so far in his build as well, probably because he expects his opponent to do the same. Attack Bike's going to run in and take a few shots off on at least one of the hammerheads, but no, the hammerhead stays strong. The hammerhead there was able to take out the bikes before really anything can happen. Scorpion tanks moving their way into the center of the map, followed actually by a couple of early stealth tanks. Noav pulling out all of the stops, trying to get all of the sneaky out and going, and hopefully able to snipe a few of those hammerheads as they make their way in. And indeed, it looks like that is what they are waiting on. One Titan going to go down for free. Unfortunate there for Bike Rush, but not game-ending. Rocket squads are exactly what you need if you're going to run in all these units, but not if they run you over. One Scorpion tank going to get targeted and might just... No, actually, it's not going to go down, which means it's going to be ready for this next fight. T6, T3 into Reclamator, Hub Reclamator, Redeemer, sorry, Marv. Words are hard. Marv about halfway complete over there for Bike Rush. Hammerheads moving their way in. Where are those stealth tanks? Their whole job is to knock these guys down, or at least it should be. A couple of Venoms moving their way forward, at least killing some of the meat shields for Bike Rush. Bike Rush actually not controlling much of the center of the map, at least this time around. And it looks like the MCV has deployed on the front line. Noab being the first one to grab that much needed Tiberium. But over in the background, we do have a Marv, and he does have at least one engineer in him so far. May not be a bad idea to get a couple of grenade squads. One Harvester is going to get targeted over here on the right-hand side, as actually the stealth tanks do manage to get a kill on one of the Harvesters, or one of the refineries rather quickly, but they're destroyed for their efforts. Venoms and Scorpion tanks here in the center, still looking for something to snack on. Does look like we've got a couple of Hammerheads continue to move their way in. Redeemer cracking there on the back line. Couple of beam cannons. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of a different transition. Probably preparing for the siege of Bike Rush, because Bike Rush is not going to let his opponent sit in the middle for too long as the Marv makes the way across. Marv actually having 4 engineers inside of it. It's going pure tank. It wants to absorb as much damage as it possibly can. Railgun upgrade completed for the Mammoth tank. That's where his primary punching power is going to come from there. And the Titans, a couple of rifleman squads with AP ammo to pad out the stats. Redeemer going to pop its way out. Obelisk of Light there on the front line. Marv doing exactly what it needs to, harvesting up a good chunk of these resources. Beam cannons powering up this Obelisk of Light to get a little more range and start taking out the Marv. Marv getting close to about 30% down if he's not careful. Venom's moving their way forward, more damage being dealt to all of those units. It does look like we have the AA battery, but the Marv's just going to continue to harvest resources, trying to keep Bike Rush ahead of the game, ahead of the curve. He's not putting any refineries on here because he doesn't really need to just quite yet. Space Command uplink there on the front line. AA battery going to get targeted. AA battery going to go down. There's the one click. It's not able to lock down that Redeemer, but it is able to lock down the Redeemer engineering facility and the Obelisk of Light. There it is. There's the EMP. Back armor is exposed as Bike Rush goes in for the kill. Adaptive armor in full effect. Scorpion takes just a little bit late, as well as the one click. Venom's trying to take a bit of damage here and there. Obelisk of Light still here on the front line, still going to do plenty of damage. There is a really good strike, taking down a good chunk of those Venoms, but the beam cannons are still not dealt with as another Titan dies down on that front line. But Bike Rush has his own artillery as well. Bike Rush has behemoths on the front line, which will do quite well into the beam cannons if they can get their shots off, but not as well into the rocket squads. Obelisk of Light once again on the front line. Beam cannons probably going to switch over to it. One Mammoth tank going down for free. Construction yard getting targeted, and if not careful, going to get destroyed. Looks like it's going to deploy, interrupting the damage to it rather quickly. Bike Rush doing everything he can to keep this MCV alive, keep this construction yard alive. Behemoths finally getting their shots off, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. Bike Rush absolutely microing this MCV. This is not micro, folks. This is shadow boxing at 200 APM. Bike Rush is in full send, and he's not going to let it go down without a count. This construction yard so close to going down. Barracks there on the front line to recapture one of the behemoths and maybe get a bit of repair on that. Another Redeemer out and ready to go. Mammoth tank having to back its way out despite those 4 engineers. It's already down to half HP. Avatar's getting targeted here by the behemoths. Behemoth's just going to put in so much work. Engineer did make it into that construction yard, which means Bike Rush has that back at full HP. The numbers for Noab are beginning to dwindle. There is the Rage Gen. Hopefully that's going to work out well for him. One behemoth does get targeted. It looks like Mammoth tanks are also going to take a few shots here and there, but it's not enough to really take any of them out just quite yet. These behemoths, this artillery is just doing so much work, and the beam cannons are having a hard time keeping up. They do target the Harvester there in the background and are able to kill it, but they're not able to fully push out Bike Rush. More rifleman squads moving there forward there for a bit of scouting. More and more behemoths joining the fray, going for the Scorpion tanks. Scorpion tanks getting a few kills here and there. Bike Rush just spending his time moving these cheap units forward. Does look like we got a couple of Spectre tanks here, blind firing, selling off of the 2 barracks there as the Marv moves its way in. Spectre's targeting all of these behemoths. Behemoths getting so close to going down, but will they get destroyed as one of them just survives with a half a Ladybug's worth of HP? Behemoth moving its way in to support the Marv. Marv less than half HP. If it's not careful, it will get taken down. Mammoth tank's getting a couple of upgrades here and there. This is absolute mayhem. Behemoth finally going down. Marv able to escape, but are the Scorpion tanks going to allow it to happen? Are the Spectres, sorry, going to let it happen? Majority of the units there for the beam cannons did go down over in the background for Noab. Noab finally slowing down. having less and less forces as time goes on. He's running out of obelisks, and BikeRush is not letting up the pressure. He's constantly in and out, but most importantly, he's pushing Noev out of the center slowly but surely. Only 4 beam cannons remain. There is the Rage Gen. Is it really going to do anything? One Titan's going to get targeted here by the Behemoth. That is going to be good for them, but that is going to be a small consolation prize. They weren't able to get what they needed. Marv about to run over a whole bunch of Harvesters. If he's not careful, there's the first crush, probably followed by many. Marv going for its brothers. Marv going for these Harvesters. Almost Goliath on the front line. Marv looking for more crushes, going for maybe the third crush, but there it is. It does grab it. It's absolutely Harvest Mayhem here for this Marv. BikeRush has so much in this Marv. So many engineers in the Marv. There's the destruction of the MCV for Noev. This is Noev's last hurrah. Is he going to be able to get the MCV? MCV just sticking it out, and there it is. BikeRush outlasting Noev. BikeRush with steel talons, not giving up, mounting this awesome defense, never going full sin, but poking his head in and out, destroying his opponent with artillery with those behemoths. Is Noev going to keep allowing this to happen? Are we going to witness a sweep on the underdog, or is the underdog finally going to be able to turn things around? Give me one moment while I see if the next one is available. BikeRush has a 2-0 lead on Six City. Looks like Noev has decided to go back to Black Hand, maintaining his color. BikeRush sticking with his faction and his color. Trying to be a little bit cheeky with the combat engineer. Noev did catch that, but ultimately he did lose the overall match. BikeRush is absolutely pulling out every single stop, every single strategy, and ramping up his APM to make sure he destroys this tournament. Will Noev allow it? Is BikeRush going to make these mistakes back and forward? Only time will tell. BikeRush already moving a couple of pretty aggressive scouts inside of these garrison. Noev coming out strong with a little bit of an early rush. When it comes to these rocket squads, BikeRush is going to know that it is here and it is ready to go, so he's got time to prepare for it. He can get a couple of Wolverines out, which will do well into that, but rocket squads, if they focus fire correctly and if they have the appropriate concave going into the fight, can destroy a good chunk of them. Already a singular watchtower out there is followed quickly behind a Harvester. No sell-off of the MCV or anything like that, as a few more scouts for BikeRush make their way across the southern section through the blue Tiberium and into their opponent's base. There it is. There's the first Wolverine ready to go. Over here on the right-hand side, it looks like Noev's going to go for the easy victory, going to go for the Tiberium spike, potentially, I'm assuming. And yeah, indeed, he is going to go for it and take it out, getting those Black Hand squads a little bit close in order to deal the damage. So we probably got a secret shrine here as well. BikeRush finally making it into his opponent's base, but Noev doing the exact same thing to him, taking the long route around. 3 Wolverines should be enough to wipe this out if they focus fire correctly, but it looks like they're going to play defensively. And so far, the macro, the long game, has really gone in BikeRush's favor. Granted, those maps, I feel, favored GDI just a little more, so he was able to capitalize on that advantage. Wolverine moving self forward is going to go down just as quickly. A couple of watchtowers here to push out Noev. This exact tactic has worked a couple of times against a few other opponents, but so far it's proving ineffective against BikeRush. Only 1 Wolverine going down. He did get the Tiberium spike, so that's going to be good for him. That means that the longer this stays up, the more economic gains Noev's going to have, but his Harvesters aren't quite as efficient as the GDI Harvesters that's going for him. It looks like he's trying to capitalize on this Tiberium over here by destroying a segment of the bridge and denying BikeRush. BikeRush seeing an opportunity, going to move his Wolverines in. One's going to go down. Rifleman squad's going to move their way in as another Wolverine does get targeted and should go down. These forces are going to go down to these Rifleman squads, though, unfortunately for them. Black Hand squads are going to get close. This could tip the scales for them, giving them a little more time to go after that bridge, and indeed, it looks like that is going to be the case, as BikeRush actually loses that skirmish right there. I feel like he had the advantage, but the micro was pretty good there for his opponent. Looks like he's not going to go for the last little remaining section of the bridge section. BikeRush making a couple more scouts down to go down Main Street, do a little bit of scouting. You got to keep an eye on specifically Noev. Noev has been very, very sneaky with a couple of things here and there, but BikeRush has not been found wanting. BikeRush producing, it looks like, a command post, probably with AP ammo. Not a bad strategy, knowing against your Black Hand. Double War Factory, second one being there on the front line. Gonna prepare for, it looks like it's two-handed nods. BikeRush once again gonna see things coming his way. And he's going to have time to prepare for it. Time to put down a couple of watchtowers. Time to put down rifleman squads. Look like actually, no, it's going to be grenade squads mixed in with these Wolverines. 5 Wolverines here to join the fray. The concave is going to be so important. And the grouping specifically for Black Hand is also going to be really important here in this engagement. They're going to pop their way inside of the garrison. That's going to be good for them. Rocket squads making their way into the other building, taking a couple of shots off on the Wolverine, getting close to getting destroyed, but the War Factory's there to get a repair. MRT is also here to get a little bit of repair. Grenade squads clearing out those units. BikeRush correctly predicting that his Black Hand squad is going to run directly into those garrison. BikeRush moving back in and out. MRT going down. Grenade squads need to get targeted before they destroy the units inside the garrison. There it is, building the grenade squads doing exactly what they need to. Another MRT as well, filled with another set of grenade squads inside of the mammoth tank, or not mammoth tanks. Wolverines continuing their onslaught on all of the Black Hand squads. They're just going down left and right. Noev not finding what he needs in those Black Hand infantry. Wolverines being so powerful, and of course they have that AP ammo. Only one MRT remains from that onslaught. BikeRush moving into the center of the map, pushing him with his construction yard. Only 3 Scorpion tanks so far for the defense. That's going to be great into all of the Wolverines. And might actually be good overall. A couple of rocket squads are going to join the fray. We do have a light laser turret there to deal a bit of damage here and there, but the focus fire is so strong for BikeRush that AP ammo is just doing so much damage as all these Scorpion tanks get taken out of the game and destroyed. Rocket squad moving their way forward. BikeRush being cheeky, popping down a watchtower there on the front line, destroying the man span of his opponent. And it looks like Noev may already lose this. Is this going to be a 3-0 lead for BikeRush? I'm not sure how Noev's going to turn this around. He doesn't have anything in the bank. There's even a War Factory there on the front line as well. If you look at the economy, Noev is ahead, but it doesn't matter if he loses that entire natural expansion, which so far he has. BikeRush has kicked him out and is now going for the construction yard, and still no response here from Noev. Noev not having enough production to get ready for this and to deal with this. BikeRush staying on top of it, maintaining the pressure and keeping Noev on his back foot, making sure the tempo is in his favor. Finally, a couple more Scorpion tanks join the fray, but the damage might already be done. This is BikeRush's game to lose. Titan's going to target that brave Scorpion tank. Scorpion tank kind of trying to get a little bit of repairs here and there, but it's not going to matter. Scorpion tanks also stop right before they deal their damage to those rifleman squads, getting the deal, but the focus fire on the Wolverines will be more important as the Titans move in for the final nail in the coffin. Noev is in danger. BikeRush is rolling on his base, and there it is, Steel Talons, and BikeRushOwnz getting a 3-0 lead. Noev, you've got to pull it together, bud. You can do this. Don't let BikeRush sweep you. BikeRush is definitely going to try, though. There's so much on the line. He wants that money, and he's definitely motivated. The bell is rung. The gloves are on. Now it's just pain and pride on Tournament Undergrounds. BikeRush staying consistent, staying with Steel Talons, maybe predicting that Noev's going to stick within the Nod faction, and indeed, Noev has gone Black Hand once again. So far, standard openers for both players. We do already have a foxhole here for BikeRush as he actually sends a couple of units around, maybe trying to be cheeky once again with a combat engineer. No one's grabbed the contested Tiberium Spike just quite yet. It does look like the Saboteur has just enough room to squeeze his way in there, and is probably what he's going to go for. BikeRush maybe moving into the garrison here, but at the very least is going to send one of those to get a little bit of scouting off. Combat Engineer maybe going all the way to the north to grab that other Tiberium Spike. BikeRush maybe not confident in his ability to destroy these early game Capacitor Ball squads. They do really well into Rifleman squads. BikeRush finally making his way into his opponent's base, seeing that there's nothing crazy here just quite yet. So far, still just a standard opener, War Factory, Refinery, all of the good stuff. Combat Engineer making his way across the map, and indeed it looks like he is going for that Tiberium Spike, unless he's going for another long capture like BikeRush has already tried with that Combat Engineer. Thank you for joining me, everyone. If you are just popping in, we are in the grand finals of the Chrono Clash II. BikeRush versus Noev, and this, of course, is round number 4. BikeRush has a 3-0 lead for the current moment. Noev moving into the center of the map. A couple of Capacitor Ball squads accompanying at least a singular rocket squads. They're not going to be able to do too much damage. BikeRush does indeed grab that Tiberium Spike in the north. That means that's 1 contested Tiberium Spike per player. Black Hand squads are out, which means we did get an operations center at some point. It looks like, and there it is, Flame Tank. Flame Tank is going to get spotted here by the garrison troop, and they're going to get destroyed over there. Bike Rush does have time to repair, but there is a watchtower here on the front line, and a Titan, maybe anticipating that Titan's going to be super good into this, especially 2 Titans, as the Flame Tanks already get scouted. It might be able to speed or maneuver the Titan, and indeed it does, which means it's not out of the game just quite yet. So Bike Rush has to keep that in his mind, keep that in his noodle, and figure out where that's going to show up. No Reckoner or anything like that, but there are still a couple of Black Hand squads that Noab can be sneaky with. Is he going to be able to find a hole in the armor like he did with Futurama, or is Bike Rush just going to continue over and over predicting what Noab is going to do? And so far, he's been right on the money with all of his transitions, with everything. He's just had all of the answers to Noab, where a lot of other players have struggled, but not Bike Rush. Bike Rush showing how experienced of a player he is, even into a 15-year-old game. While players have moved into their natural expansion, building refineries there in the background. Titan there for the defense for Bike Rush. A couple of rocket squads making their way across the map. Black Hand squads also making their way across the map, probably going to contest this Tiberium Spike. They probably don't know that Bike Rush snuck a combat engineer, because that's not a typical strategy. More rocket squads going to join the fray here, going to get some sort of the soft targets. Titan going to move its way forward, but I'm not sure the Titan wants to be involved with this, especially by himself. It looks like Bike Rush may have forgotten about the Titan, which could cost him a Titan this early in the game, and that is a little bit of an expensive mistake, as it's just not getting paid attention to whatsoever. It's going to get destroyed, but at the very least, it's going to give Bike Rush some much-needed intel. He's going to see how much is on the horizon, which will give him time to build a couple of watchtowers, which he's already got ready. Watchtower there in the background. No AP ammo. Harvester might get targeted, though, if it's not careful. A couple other things being built in the background as well. MRT's actually moving their way over into Noab's base. MRT going to get targeted as Noab moves his infantry over across the map, but Bike Rush has the answer for it. Things are a little bit more dire on this side, as all of these Harvesters do get targeted by the Titans, by the MRTs, by the rockets. And I don't think Noab's able to save them just quite yet. 2 of them getting so close to going down. 1 of them going to get taken down by the Titan. Laser turret going to pop its way out, but it's too little too late as the MRTs go for the expansion, as the MRT go for the units there in the north. Wolverine chasing down the onslaught for Noab. Noab having a full retreat, having to skirt around all of these units with his Harvesters is in danger if he doesn't play his cards right. More Wolverines joining the fray, making their way across the map into the center over the glass, wiping out the remainders of the forces for Noab. Looks like Noab did manage to save his 3 Harvesters in the north. He lost 2 in the south, which is definitely going to hurt his economy. And indeed, Bike Rush about maybe 800 to 700, 800 ahead in the economic front. Bike Rush probably going to be the first one to grab a little bit of blue Tiberium. There it is. Right on cue, Heavy Harvester making its way over there. No real response from Noab. It looks like it's going to be man spam once again. We do also have a secret shrine, so some sort of upgrade is producing there for him in the background. No hammerheads just quite yet from Bike Rush, but I won't be surprised if we see them. Looks like AP ammo is cooking up, so Bike Rush probably wants to wait just a little bit, although this number of forces should do a good chunk. Not quite as much into the laser turrets. Laser turrets will be good into the Wolverines unless the Wolverines get that AP ammo, and then they should melt it if they have the time to focus fire on it. Bike Rush looks like he's packed up in his natural expansion and is going to begin to move to the north. Wolverines moving their way in. Scorpion tanks are going to be the answer for them, as they are in full retreat now. Couple of rocket squads, just pure rifleman squads inside this garrison troop, which will be good against the man spam, but not unless the Black Hand squads get close, and indeed they do, clearing out those garrisons just as quickly. That upgrade helping out Noab quite well. Bike Rush having a couple of MRTs, probably with rocket squads, waiting once again. We saw Bike Rush do this very same thing on this map, waiting for his unit to roll in, waiting for the MCV to roll in, and was able to get a kill on one of the MCVs. Scorpion tanks going for the crush as Noab begins his assault in earnest. Plenty of Wolverines, and there it is. There's the air factory, and there is the AP ammo for everything. Scorpion tank going to go down just as quickly. This is too many Wolverines for them to deal with. MRT finally going to get targeted over here as it drops a mine drop down. but it's only going to be a minor skirmish as the skirmish does truly begin over there. Hammerhead's picking off all of these rifleman squads, all these rocket squads before they can really do anything as this assault already gets pushed back. Singular flame tank here in the background. MRT scouting their remaining forces. It looks like it's going to be 2 flame tanks, but Noab so far has been found wanting. Losing plenty of his units here in the assault. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to turn this around. I think this is once again Bike Rush's game to lose. Noab really struggling here. Operation Center down. No real SAM turrets over at least the natural expansion just quite yet. There is a War Factory, but that's just about it. And the whole time Bike Rush is just sitting pretty on his secondary natural expansion while he rolls into his opponent's base, while he rolls over those harvesters. SAM turrets dealing a good chunk of damage to the Hammerheads, but the Hammerheads don't care as they out DPS it. Harvester going to get targeted with a full load of Tiberium. That's going to be unfortunate for the gains for Noab. Noab is about 5k behind in total resources, or not in total resources gathered, in resources per minute gathered. Bike Rush is almost 20k ahead in total resources gathered. And he's just continuing to gain a heavier in lead, not letting Noab rest. Constantly pushing him out of the center, constantly engaging him, going for harvester after harvester. A couple of mines going to get ran over there by the Scorpion tanks. It looks like Noab was able to build up a healthy number of Scorpion tanks, though, for him. Dozer upgrade complete, ready to go. No T3 yet for Noab. Bike Rush already predicting where his opponent's going, mirroring him on the right-hand side. MCV at least is moving forward with a little bit of escort. We do have a Mantis tank here just in case a couple of the Hammerheads decide to be cheeky, Jesus, for Bike Rush. Power plant finally going to get spotted. They're not power plant. Tiberium spike. Jeez. Finally going to get spotted over here and get killed for free. But I think the damage is already done. Bike Rush has definitely made his money off it as the assault truly does begin. Wolverine starting to melt these Scorpion tanks. That's not something you see every day. Titans also dealing plenty of damage. The focus fire is real as Noab loses the majority of his forces and actually throws in the towel. He's not able to fight one. Bike Rush taking a 4-0 lead into Noab. Noab super great throughout all of the Chrono Clash, but so far into an opponent like BikeRushOwnz, Bike Rush so far is just walking him. Noab's really got to tighten it up. He's got to get in his A game. He's got to get his caffeine flowing within his blood if he's going to be able to turn this around, because it's going to be only uphill from now. Round number 6, it's on its way. Give me one moment. Noab came in swinging, but is he punching above his weight class? Bike Rush is definitely making it seem so on the map. Badland Hills. Over on our left-hand side of the map, looks like switching to Nod and sticking with his color. We have Noab. Bike Rush sticking with both his color and his faction, and why wouldn't he? He's had a stellar performance on Steel Talon, and it doesn't look like Noab's had a solution despite all of these games. Noab truly trying to punch above his weight class. It's not over yet, but if he's not careful, he's gonna hear the sounds of the fat lady singing. Normal opener for both players, Singular War Factory and Singular Refinery, with a second one cooking there in the background. I think this is another map that once again favors GDI because of the center map control. Getting that Marv, getting those behemoths there, getting all that artillery. And I think that's one of the big things that Noab has struggled with in the longer assaults, in the longer engagements, is dealing with those behemoths. He's had a couple of stealth bombers here and there, but not enough to really write home about, and he's got a few kills here and there. He tried beam cannons. They didn't quite have the effect that he maybe wanted. He also tried Spectres, but he didn't have them in the numbers to continue to contest all of those behemoths. Secondary refinery out for both players. Looks like it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 harvesters. Yep, there's the 4th harvester for Noab. Bike Rush a little bit ahead of the curve. Another harvester building there on the horizon, unless he went a couple of pit bulls. First Raider Buggy out, moving its way over to the center of the map, looking for something, maybe trying to do some reverse scouting, some scout denial at the very least. BikeRush producing his 5th Harvester, so indeed that was going to be a Harvester instead. BikeRush also doing exactly what Futurama did, which was sneaking a unit directly into this building here to give him that vision. Raider Buggy finally making its way into BikeRush's base. Gonna see that everything is up to snuff. Everything is standard. No flying MRTs, no silliness so far for BikeRush. Just pure macro, and there's no reason for him to not. It's been working really well for him, getting a 4-0 lead. BikeRush has this tendency to make these really good players look like they're down a notch. He's really in a league of his own in Command and Conquer, and people haven't been able to knock him off his pedestal too often. A few players like Master Leaf and I think Technique, from talking to Cybert, sounds like he was able to contend with BikeRush. But I don't think Technique plays whatsoever. I haven't seen anything from him whatsoever, and I've been back in Kane's Wrath for about 9 months, a little bit more. Scorpion Tank here to flush out those garrison units. BikeRush going once again heavy into the MRTs, probably rocket squads, and at least maybe a single rifleman squad in one of these, supported by 2 pit bulls. This definitely does seem to be a card that he likes to play early on, and why not? It works quite well. 1 pit bull is going to get scouted here by the garrison for Nod for Noav. Noav moving his tanks and hopefully able to get a couple of good shots off on the pit bulls. And indeed, it does take 2 of them down to half HP, but the MRTs are going to help here with the skirmish. We do have a War Factory there on the front line. A little bit of microing here from those units. Mine drop there in front of it, so as soon as those tanks pop their way out, they're going to get destroyed. Rocket squad's moving their way in, and Noav is already in danger. Hand and Nod there on the front line. Going to produce a healthy number of rocket squads. I hope there's another mine drop once again. These pit bulls are so far absolutely unstoppable. A couple of Scorpion tanks here, finally thinning their numbers down a little bit, but these MRTs are just putting in such work. The punching power is definitely going to be from the pit bulls, though, as more and more units join the fray. BikeRush going for the Harvester instead, taking the Harvester down to half HP, ignoring the damage being dealt to them. Is indeed going to get it. A full load of Tiberium gone for Noav. He can't really afford that. These MRTs finally going down, but the damage is done. Dealt. The units are down, and so is the Harvester. It's going to be double air factory for BikeRush. BikeRush trying to put an early into this game, to this series, trying not to get fatigued, trying not to let his opponent gain a single breath of air as he just puts his finger on his opponent and never lets go. MCV actually getting destroyed over there. No, getting sold off over there. Not sure what happened there. Yeah, indeed, that was going to be a sell-off right there. So it looks like he's going full send into triple airfield. AP ammo out and ready to go. Rifleman squad's going to scout ahead of everything. And so far, his opponent is not aware of BikeRush, giving a little ping there, letting everyone know what is going to happen. Hammerhead's making their way across the map. Noav is in trouble. The cavalry's arriving, and his tanks can't shoot up. He's going to be in a world of hurt as these Hammerheads make their way across the map. Go for the Operations Center. Gonna destroy the Operations Center. Gonna go for the T3. Absolutely uncontested. T3 gonna go down. T3 gonna get destroyed, selling off of the power plant, but it doesn't matter as the onslaught continues. BikeRush has gone full send into all of this, destroying a few air units here and there. Black Hand squads once again can't shoot up. Their flamethrowers cannot reach. War Factory gonna get targeted. War Factory gonna go down. Couple more units going to join the fray, but it doesn't matter because BikeRush is uncontested. More and more of these Raider buggies going to join, but it doesn't matter as BikeRush goes for his only fighting chance, goes for this War Factory, kill a couple units here in the background. Titan getting a crushed as well to add insult to injury. Finally, it looks like maybe BikeRush might be pushed out of here, but no, he's keeping the pressure on. He's keeping everything on Noav. Noav struggling to deal with this 3-person rush. Finally, there's some SAM turrets, but it's too little too late as the focus fire and the fire is too powerful. They go for the hub. Another Operations Center. War Factory still up. BikeRush maybe finally getting pushed out of Noav's base. Going back home, maybe to lick his wounds. Bit of good splash damage there. Noav somehow able to hold off BikeRush. Somehow able to hold off the all-in 3 War Factories. But can he do it a second time? BikeRush is running back home to do a little repair. Can he produce a couple of more SAM turrets? Those SAM turrets are going to be so important. BikeRush keeping the scouting up, sending those orcas across the map, looking for a little bit of scouting, seeing what they are up to. Looks like it's going to be 3 refineries here, probably expecting the damage as the Orca Strike does hit the refinery. Hammerhead's finally making their way across the map. They're going to find a SAM turret and destroy it before it can really even do anything. Another one's going to join the fray. No Mantis tanks, but those SAM turrets are going to do a bit of damage here. BikeRush going for the easy kill, going for the Tiberium Spike, trying to keep economic gains. It's about 6k in the bank. More SAM turrets going to pop their way on the front line as well, dealing more damage, at least knocking out one of these hammerheads and dealing a bit of splash damage here and there. Nobody's grabbed an EMP control center, although I think Noah's probably kicking himself for not doing so, because knocking all of those hammerheads out of the sky would be super great. Another Titan Spike going to go down just as quickly as the Raider Buggies move their way in, but they just can't keep up. Noah finally having a decent amount of forces over here in the north, but once again, they can't shoot up these Scorpion tanks. Noah really hasn't changed up his strategy too much at all, and he truly is on the defensive. BikeRush hasn't moved into the center of the map because he doesn't have that, and he is going to lose a Harvester. This might be Noah's best chance to pull one off over on BikeRush. A couple of units going inside. Looks like rocket squads going inside all of these hammerheads, and it's so many to deal with. Few Venoms to join the fray. Plenty of Raider Buggies to join the fray as well, as it looks like the middle is taken by Noav. Noav going on the assault, trying to keep BikeRush on his back foot, trying to put the tempo in his favor. Plenty of tanks. No, it looks like they're going to back off instead. Maybe worried about the Titans, maybe worried about the Defender's advantage. Hammerhead's going over here. 4-bit repairs before the main battle does start. BikeRush wants to build everything up and maybe pop a couple more Rifleman squads inside those units. Orca's going in for the Scout. Raider Buggy's going for another Harvester right for BikeRush once again. Maybe able to take out a full load if they play their cards right. All of these Scorpion tanks are going to get targeted. Operations Center, Command Post there on the front line. Titan moving its way forward, and so far these hammerheads are just doing so much damage to everything, and Noav just hasn't been able to compete with it whatsoever. His Tiberium fields are running out, and he's running out of time. BikeRush has lost a little bit of his lead. He's about down 2k, but he's still 4k ahead for the current moment. Venom's looking for something to snack on, being a pretty decent counter here. It's gone full anti-air for his opponent. BikeRush continuing assaults left and right, picking off units where he can. There's just so many hammerheads in the sky, absolutely blotting out the sun, followed by Titans on the ground. I'm not sure how Noah's going to be able to turn this around. It's going to be uphill for sure, and if he's not careful, he's going to be knocked out of the tournament. Noav with a one-click, but only able to get one Titan. Pretty unfortunate for him. BikeRush absolutely on top of it. His Micro and Macro are so powerful. BikeRush finally moving in for maybe the final assault. There is the laser capacitor there for the tanks and for the Venoms and all of these Raider Buggies. Pitbull's moving their way forward. Sam turret there on the front line. Noav doing a bit of a turtle build, slowly pushing up, trying to take control over the center of the map. Not sure we rebuilt an MCV just quite yet. Venom moving its way forward. Venom going to go down just as quickly. Obelisk Light on the front line, followed by a War Factory on the front line. Noav's economy has finally gone past BikeRush. BikeRush getting another MCV, getting another construction yard out, taking over the center of the map, being the first to establish at least a closer foothold. For the moment, Hammerheads went back for some much-needed repairs, selling off of the refinery to give BikeRush a little more cash to deal with a couple things in the south. It looks like one click. There you go. Was able to get the refinery there. Not able to get the War Factory, but at least that'll delay the economy a little more on BikeRush, and BikeRush is now 3k behind. Marv moving a little bit forward, or sorry, MCV moving a little bit forward. No Marv just quite yet. We are going to get a Avatar there on the front line, which once again cannot shoot up. So many of these hammerheads are going to be hard to deal with, but answer needs to be had for the Titans as well. Venom's moving their way in, mowing down the hammerheads. Hammerhead's not able to do too much to them other than the rocket squads, but the Titan onslaught is moving its way forward. This is so many Titans, and I don't think they can be stopped as they roll their way once again into Noav. Noav getting destroyed by the champ. Definitely punching above his weight class. I was voting for him, but it looks like maybe he might have some issues. However, all the hammerheads are going down. AA turret there on the front line. BikeRush losing his air superiority, and now these Venoms are free to make their way across the map and go for these Titans. Vapor Bomb going off, hitting at least a couple of those Titans, hitting the center of that formation. Noav doing everything he can to hold on. His construction yard's going to get targeted. Slingshots moving their way forward, taking out a couple of these Venoms. Venom's not able to do the damage they want. Is another AA battery. Noav losing his only advantage he had on the map, and if he's not careful, he's going to lose this round as well. Noav running out of steam. Noav running out of this game, giving BikeRush a 5-0 lead. But it's not a best of 9. It's a best of 11. Hello, Aussie Logic. Thank you for joining the chat. I appreciate you coming in for some views. We are continuing our coverage of the Chrono Clash 2. Let me look here in the background and see if we've got the next round. Welcome to Toxicity. We are on what is potentially match point in the finals of the Chrono Clash II. BikeRush having a 5-0 lead on Noab. I knew BikeRush was going to be a top contender in this, but I did not expect him to play Noab like this. I did not expect him to destroy Noab like this. Noab has a final opportunity and an uphill battle if he's going to turn it around on the champ BikeRush, sticking with Steel Talons the whole way through. Noab going with his black hand, never switching off of any of the nod factions, and never even going to mark the Kane from what I could tell either, which may have mixed things up. Maybe he's just practiced with those two factions, and granted, he did come a long way. This is the grand finals of this tournament, and he's made it all the way into BikeRush. Most people, I believe, voted for Futurama, but truly the underdog ended up coming out on top of that one, which was Noab. He's struggling much more this time around. Standard openers for both players. Noab started off with some early scouting, so that's great for him. Not going to really expect anything weird from BikeRush. He typically prefers consistency over weird. So I don't think I've ever seen him do flying MRTs, at least not in a tournament where he wants to risk it. Although it would be funny, sometimes BikeRush does play with his food, and even in the Chrono Clash, he actually got a mothership off during the group stage, if y'all missed that, and got a lot of cheekiness out. Watchtower there on the front line, getting rid of the scouts of Noab. Noab having to back his Raider buggy out. BikeRush trying to make his way into his opponent's base. He does have one Pitbull out and ready to go. Looks like we've got a Scorpion tank here for the defense. 5 Harvesters for Noab, and it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Harvesters for BikeRush. BikeRush a little bit ahead. Looks like he's got about 500 per minute in the bank ahead of his opponent. Natural expansions have been moved upon as the construction yard goes down and the refineries pop down just as soon as they make it over there. More Harvesters joining the fray on both sides. No, actually, that's going to be a Scorpion tank instead. Noab maybe expecting a little bit more rushy tactics from his opponent. Thus, the Scorpion tanks. He has a chance to go on the offense if he wants to, but I think BikeRush has plenty of time to prepare for that assault as the secondary war factory goes down on the natural expansion. Foxhole going to get targeted. 3 Scorpion tanks there on the front line, but most importantly, BikeRush is going to see it's coming, which is why he sets that Foxhole there. That, and I'm pretty sure he didn't want Noab to move into the defensive towers, which do a lot of good early damage. Looks like it's going to be 4 Pitbulls and 1 MRT, probably with a Rocket Squad, 6 Pitbulls, 7 Pitbulls, 8 Pitbulls here for BikeRush. So BikeRush going pretty Pitbull heavy, making his way all the way down to the southern section of the map. Maybe going for a free Tiberium Spike, but it may not be quite free because there are 3 Scorpion tanks. They do move away at just the wrong time for Noab. But maybe he's more worried about losing them than he is about this onslaught coming on. Pitbull's moving their way in, getting a really good volley off. Scorpion tank already down to half HP. MRT moving its way forward. Skirmishing should be in the favor of Steel Talons. Another Harvester going to get targeted, but no, the Scorpion tanks are going to be the primary target instead. There's the mine drop inside the field as another Harvester does get targeted. Indeed, it does, as it just barely goes down. War Factory down the front line, but I think it's too little too late as another Harvester gets targeted. This will be the 3rd Harvester take it down. That's so much Tiberium lost for Noab. It doesn't already look good for him. Poor guy just can't catch a break. MRT getting left behind, but at the very least, it's going to be able to do a little bit of scouting here in the final little defense. Rifleman squad's finally going down there to the Scorpion tanks. Looks like it's going to be 1, 2, probably followed by 3 and 4 Wolverines. Low power mode there for the command post power plant to get it up and running, which means we've got that AP ammo on the horizon. Indeed, there it is, about 30% complete or so. Pitbulls, Titans, Wolverines, we've seen it all before, and specifically we've seen it from BikeRush. BikeRush looking to move into the center of the map. Looks like someone's already grabbed a little bit of blue Tiberium, but his opponent, Noab's already there, taking over a little bit more of the center of the map. Pitbulls looking for something to snack on, and so far, no defense here for Noab. Noab's not prepared for this whatsoever. No lasers, nothing really to go just quite yet. There's going to be 1 Scorpion. Noab maybe sensing something, maybe knowing that he hasn't scouted there in the north and hasn't seen these Pitbulls in a while, is going to sort of feel out in the ether where BikeRush is. Noav transitioning over into his natural expansion, his secondary natural expansion, slowly trying to move his way in there. Luckily, this time around, he is doing a bit of scouting beforehand with that Raider buggy, getting some vision here and there. Couple Orcas out, going to get one Harvester, going to get two Harvesters, selling off of the refinery right there, selling off of the War Factory. Orcas wasting a couple of their shots. T2 is going to get scouted. More Harvesters going to go down, get targeted on their way out, but it looks like they're not going to be able to. No, two Orcas stay behind to knock it out. Noab just can't keep any Harvesters alive whatsoever. Finally getting a SAM turret there on the front line. The Air Forces for Steel Talons just so powerful, and it looks like it is indeed going to be 2 airfields. Not 3 in a all-in this time, but it looks like he went for 2 of them so far, and this Orca's doing so much damage, and why not? He knows his opponent's going to build Scorpion tanks, and the Scorpion tanks have such a hard time dealing with the air, and Noab seems to have a hard time dealing with BikeRush's air. Natural expansion for BikeRush has been developed upon as he builds a refinery in the background. T3 out for his opponent, as well as a flame tank. A couple of more Orcas in the north looking for something to snack on. Might run directly into the flame tank, which is exactly what they do. That they are right on cue, going to destroy it before it can get anything done. That's going to be wasted cash. Hammerhead's joining the fray as well to push out these Scorpion tanks with their AP ammo. They're only going to be able to do so much because they're not out here in numbers just quite yet. BikeRush already building up a healthy snowball. This is so many Wolverines and Titans. Nice to see mechas on the field. BikeRush over here in the southern section of the map going for the T3, but the Scorpion tanks did finally make it over here. BikeRush is going to scout the expansion as at least 4 of the Pitbulls manage to make their way out. No, indeed, they get forgotten about as BikeRush crushes them. BikeRush mirroring an invisible enemy as he moves a couple of his troops to the north, but maybe his goal is to attack rather than defend. Hammerhead's getting pushed out by Mantis tanks in the south. Plenty of man spam here in the center. Once again, a pretty standard combo for his opponent for Noab. Noab about to run into all these Wolverines. This Wolverine's going to find the absolute smorgasbord that they want, which is all of these tasty meat shields. Most of them going down before they even fire a single shot off. Wolverine's going in full send. AP ammo doing so much damage. It's even going to hurt these Scorpion tanks. There is a Redeemer there in the background. Hopefully that Rage Gen will make a big difference to kill a good chunk of these Wolverines. Redeemer is out. Probably going to pop its Rage Gen as soon as it can. What kind of damage is it going to do? Here it is. Rage Gen on its way. No, there it is. It's finally going to happen as a couple of the Wolverines do get taken down. Not as much friendly fire as they want, but the Titans are still going to kill Titan over on this, and BikeRush does get pushed back from the center of the map. He had a couple troops moving there in the north. His concave's not as good as it could be. Noab wisely backing out. He is developing his natural expansion. He has a singular refinery, not quite as developed as BikeRush. BikeRush having a couple of Hammerheads here in the southern section, doing a little bit of scouting for him and looking for something to snack on. Nothing inside the Redeemer just quite yet, but it is going to make its way down into the bottom center and go for a little bit of engagement here. I'm assuming here in some time. It looks like we do have a couple of grenade squads mixed into all of this. A lot of grenade squads actually mixed into all of this. And maybe some EMP grenades on the horizon. That would be great because it would be able to lock down this Redeemer. And if you can lock down the Redeemer, you can deal a good chunk of damage. Hammerhead's finally finding exactly what they want, which is a full load of Tiberium. Looks like Noab just cannot keep a single Harvester alive as after Harvester does get taken down. SAM turret takes out a couple of the Hammerheads, but the damage is already dealt. Scorpion takes moving in and over the south as Noab begins to gather more and more forces, taking a couple of shots off on the Harvester there for BikeRush. BikeRush fully committed over here to the defense, fully committed to building up his forces, and it looks like he's finally got a couple of behemoths. Another 2 looks like going to be joining the fray, but it might be too little too late. Redeemer moving their way forward. Noab trying to keep the tempo in his favor, is pressing BikeRush for this assault. Garrison building going to get targeted here and there, but not completely destroyed. Orca moving its way forward, taking a few shots off, maybe getting forgot about on the Scorpion tanks, but I'm not sure it matters. 2 watchtowers there on the front line. You're going to destroy a couple of these units here and there. Rage Gen's going to pop off. Redeemer is in the danger zone, but most importantly, his Purifier's in the danger zone. It's going to get destroyed rather quickly. BikeRush has turned the tempo in his favor. Purifier trying everything he can to get out. There is the scan scene, the full retreat. A couple of grenade squads moving their way forward. They do indeed have those EMP grenades, which means this Redeemer is in danger. There's no engineer in it. There's nothing in it so far. Unfortunately for it, you might as well slap something in there. You've got plenty of units around it. Can't hurt to put something in there, but so far he's not doing that. Sounds like we got a one-click somewhere. And there it is. The RNG is good as BikeRush immediately capitalized on it, going for the Redeemer. Redeemer going down to half HP. Titans dealing so much damage. Behemoth's dealing so much damage. This might already be over, folks, as BikeRush finds the kill on the Epic unit. Epic unit standing absolutely no chance. More EMP is going to pop off, catching at least one of the Scorpion Tank's Obelisk of Light on the front line. Blue Flame completing there for Noav. Noav's not out of this fight yet, but he's definitely on the ground, and the ref is getting close to counting because he continues to lose forces after forces over in the background. It looks like Noav actually either lost or sold off his MCV. It was over there on the natural expansion, so we missed something. We missed BikeRush shenanigans somewhere. Scorpion Tanks moving their way in the north, but I'm not sure BikeRush cares because he's seen the tasty target. No, actually, the MCV looks like it moved its way over there and slapped a laser fence down on it. Redeemer Engineering Facility is out and still here. Looks like no sell-off as the Wolverines moving their way in, beginning to capitalize on killing a good chunk of these units. Pretty good EMP on there on two Purifiers. The Purifiers cannot get close and deal with all of these Behemoths. Behemoths still no answer. There's only two Spectres here. Splash damage should help. Obelisk of Light should help. One Purifier going down before it even fires a single shot. Titans moving their way forward to absorb a good chunk of this damage and go for the crush. And there it is, getting man spam after man spam. Redeemer popping its way there in the background. Construction yard going to get targeted at half HP. Is the Redeemer going to make its way in time? Titans finally going down. Titans going for these Spectres, which are doing so much damage to all the Behemoths. Majority of the Behemoths are down, as well as their corpses. Actually, it looks like Noav control was pretty good here, as Spectre tanks do manage to stay alive, giving him that much needed lifeline. BikeRush, his forces finally looking anemic, as it looks like in the background his opponent Noav has been taken out. Is this Noav's chance to turn it around? I definitely think so. Are we going to see a reverse sweep? I don't know, but he's definitely going to try. Plenty of watchtowers on the front line, but the Redeemer doesn't care. He's just going to snipe each and every one of them. This is the second Redeemer he's got to make up for his dead brother. Mammoth Tank moving its way to deal with all these forces. Another Harvester going to get targeted and destroyed, but I'm not sure BikeRush cares. He is going to care about losing these Behemoths as they die left and right. EMP grenade's going to pop. No, not EMP. There it is, finally. Grenade squads are going to EMP it, locking down this Redeemer. There's no Behemoths. There's only one Behemoth here to deal damage. Nothing inside the Redeemer, though, in order to repair it. A couple of Titans moving their way forward, probably getting a little bit too close. BikeRush might be overplaying his hand. And finally, Noav gets a point. Noav scores one on BikeRush. It's not going to be a 6-0 sweep this time. However, Noav's going to need to pull out all the stops. Noav is going to need to punch above his weight class to take out BikeRushOwnz. Noav finally able to bloody BikeRush. Noav finally able to get a point on BikeRushOwnz overall. Our score is now 1-6 favoring BikeRush, or 1-5 favoring BikeRush, with 5 points being in BikeRush's favor. Both players sticking with their respective factions. Black Hand into Steel Talon. Black Hand does seem to be Noav's best chance, and he has been faring quite well overall with it. But BikeRush has just been a little bit more on top each time. So far, Noav's got to be feeling the pressure. A single game will knock him out of the tournament. A single game will end the grand finals of the Chrono Strike II. War Factory down for both players, already ready to go. Standard openers for both as well. BikeRush may be extending his build orders slowly with these units here. Probably getting another refinery here, I'm expecting, but I don't think that's too unusual. Atacama Road is one of those maps I don't see people make it to the natural expansion too often. However, the Chrono Clash, has proven me wrong time and time again, as Rex, for example, likes to cut off his opponent time and time again. First couple of scouts for BikeRush making their way inside the base of Noav. Noav not doing anything cheeky. BikeRush, of course, seeing that non-cheekiness happening. BikeRush putting his refinery down over on this side, so I was wrong on that part. Noav was able to sneak at least a singular Raider buggy, and he's going to see the Titan and the MRT marching their way into his base. BikeRush trying to be cheeky this early on. He does have a Titan. Would be nice to see maybe a couple more rocket squads instead, Hand of Nod or something like that. There it is, Hand of Nod, rocket squads right on cue. Noav's doing all of the things right, but will he be able to get enough rocket squads out for that engagement? There's a mine drop right there, as it looks like BikeRush tries to bait this engagement just out of the line of sight of his opponent. Natural expansion being moved upon, making its way over to the natural expansion, followed behind BikeRush. BikeRush to be a little bit ahead on that refinery. And most importantly, he's still got a scout inside of his opponent's base. Rocket Squad's taking a couple of good shots off on the MRT, taking it down to half HP, but it looks like it's going to get out in time and get some much needed repairs. It should be able to help the Titan out quite a good amount. I'm not sure they want that engagement, really. BikeRush cooking up a refinery. I'm assuming they're in the background. Noav, I feel like it's going too fast for him. If we take a look at the economy, it looks like Noav's about 200 ahead, but that'll change really quickly. That's not necessarily super stable this early in the game. Rocket Squads and a handful of Scorpions are going to be what's in store for Noav, or more importantly, in store for BikeRush. BikeRush not having a crazy amount of production. Looks like he's just going pure eco and to try and stay ahead of that curve. Probably thinking that Noav's not going to push. Noav's probably not going to go bike and buggy because he just really hasn't found any holes. And I know a lot of people don't like Titans on the defense, but if they're in the right place at the right time, you can put them at chokeholds in order to defend against this assault or that assault. So they can be good into defense, even into bike and buggy. Bike and buggy can outrange them if they play their cards right, but Titans still put in a good showing for themselves. No one grabbing blue Tiberium just quite yet. Noav maybe moving in there in the center ahead of his Harvester. Yep, indeed, that is going to be the case. So he's going to be the first one to grab a little bit of blue Tiberium. Scorpion tanks rolling their way directly into the foxhole. Going to see it. Raider Buggy should be here to take out what's remaining of the Rifleman squads. There it is. Going to get destroyed here. MRT going to move its way in along with a couple of these Wolverines. Looks like a couple of other troops did disappear over here. There were a couple more rocket squads. Not sure where they ran off to. Wolverine's going to get targeted. Going to get focused down. Not sure you want this fight. Not sure you want this engagement as the Scorpion tank does get destroyed there for it. And the Titan rolls its way forward. Sorry, walks its way forward. Because, of course, it is a mech. MRT here to absorb the brunt of the damage and do a little repairing there for itself. Soak up some of these shots, and indeed, that's exactly what it's doing. One Scorpion tank probably going to get caught here. A little bit of bad auto-pathing for it, but it looks like the Wolverine's not going to be close enough to the end to take it out. Even for these players, no one's really gone super aggressive just quite yet. Titans are a little bit early, and it has definitely been a back and forth between each one. I would have really liked to see Noav play something a little different or change things up a little bit, because still, so far, his combination has been immediately to transition into the Scorpion tanks, which has bought him a lot of time, but he's really going to have to mix it up if he's playing into a player like BikeRush, because BikeRush is sort of just happy to sit here and sit here and snowball, and right now he's controlling the center of the map. He's getting all of this precious blue Tiberium, which shows how these Titans have so much power to them. They may not be fast-moving, but their guns are so powerful against a lot, and you can set them up for chokehold. You can set them up for blue Tiberium. BikeRush already moving into the Orcas. It looks like it's only going to be 4 Orcas so far, but those could be devastating if not correct. Noav happily having a SAM turret, so that's going to be good for him, but it looks like they're going to avoid the SAM turret in total. T3 out for Noav. Orcas moving their way in. A little bit of splash damage going for a couple of those Harvesters. One does back their way out, but it doesn't matter because a full load of Tiberium gets destroyed. Once again, BikeRush is going for the economy of Noav. It didn't work for him last time. It almost did. SAM turret's there on the front line as a third Harvester goes down. Orcas finally getting targeted. Orcas might be in trouble. More and more rocket squads and SAM turrets are going to get a couple of really good shots off on it, but no, it looks like 2 are going to survive. Titans rolling their way into the natural expansion. Redeemer building there in the background. Scorpion tanks with their dozer upgrades ready to go, ready to absorb some of these shots. BikeRush already transitioning into behemoths. I think if he built a couple more of those, he might have been a little bit better off. But the Spectres, even though there was 3 of them for Noav in the last round, put in a lot of work. The splash damage was super great, and BikeRush wasn't really able to spread his forces out maybe like he wanted. Looks like he is going to continue to go for the blue Tiberium, and it's definitely worked out in his favor. He's about 10k, close to 10k in total resources gathered, and was about 2k resources per minute ahead. However, he has not moved in fully into his natural expansion, while his opponent has kind of done the same. He set up defensive. He's building a Redeemer. He got an Obelisk of Light on the front line, which was probably delaying his economy. And indeed, Noav has hit 0 on the bank account. Hammerheads moving their way in. Hammerheads moving their way to their doom as one of them gets picked off and destroyed. Orcas poking around, looking for another spot to snap into. Purifier's here to help defend the construction yard. Construction yard here to contest his opponent. Refinery there on the front line. Sell off of the Refinery immediately, at least saving the damage. Purifier going to get targeted there by the Orcas. No real defense here for the construction yard. He may have just donated it to Bike Rush, and he did sell it off, so at least he saved himself some money trying to stop the bleeding over there. Bike Rush did fully move into this natural expansion. Behemoths sitting there in the background. Power plants, not power plants. What's it called? Words are hard. Barracks, there it is. I got it on the front line. Redeemer is finally out. Noav still hasn't really decided to pop anything into it. I feel like an engineer would have saved him a lot of time and trouble, but maybe he's just worried about the damage for the behemoths, because once they get a hold of you, once the EMP pops off, which we've already got the grenade squads here for that, if I can click on them, which I can't to save my life. And look, yeah, grenade squads already have EMP, so they did predict the Redeemer. However, there's a lot more purifiers this time around, less man spam, which will make those Wolverines a little bit more useless. Behemoth's trying to take a couple of free shots here. Maybe being a little bit too big for his britches, because he will walk directly into a lot of death if he doesn't play his cards right. Noav is full long-distance harvesting over here on the left-hand side. He needs to get a refinery down as soon as he can. He does have the Tibcore rockets and the upgrades there for the SAM turrets, which are going to be super, super useful because Bike Rush has used those air units left and right. Grenade squad's moving their way forward, looking for a good EMP to lock down a couple of these units. Purifier did manage to snipe it out before really anything happened, and this behemoth is finally in danger, but that might be a bait. There's something cooking there in the background. Once again, the one click comes in, locking down not only two Purifiers, but the Redeemer as well. Behemoth's inbound. Bike Rush inbound. No damage being dealt to the Redeemer just quite yet. Finally getting targeted, finally getting some damage to it. There, it looks like we did get the adaptive armor. We did get the units. There's the Rage Gen. Will it be able to save this Redeemer? It doesn't matter. Another EMP locking down the majority of the forces of Noav. Is he already going to be knocked out of this tournament? There's the adaptive armor. I'm not sure he can turn this around. Bike Rush is rolling right into his base, and he's not going to stop. Bike Rush going for first place. Bike Rush not pulling his punches. Noav getting destroyed in his secondary natural expansion, losing another Redeemer once again. These behemoths doing exactly like the name says. They're the towering forces, and there it is, folks. Bike Rush is the champion. Bike Rush won the grand finals of the Chrono Clash II. Thank you so much to every single player, every single content creator. Big thanks to Chrono Clash for supporting this whole thing, and big thank you to all of the players. Noav may have lost, but don't feel too bad for him. Because second place still wins a healthy amount of money. Bike Rush does take the cake, does take the 1K, but if I remember correctly, second place takes anywhere from $350 to $500, if I remember correctly. So Noav is going to make some money off of a 15-year-old game in this tournament. Absolute upset. I expected Noav to do a little bit better there. He wasn't able to find the purchases that he needed. Either way, another big thanks to all of my co-hosts. Another big thanks to Cybert. I appreciate everyone, and I appreciated this tournament. I had a blast, but I'm going to take a much, much needed break. I have been Coreack, your host for the evening. Transmission out.